I think in general we are creative because and creative we have taken we as in majority I would like to believe have taken the word creativity to a different level, which means that or to a different understanding, which is that if you're an artist then only you can be creative. No, it's not like that. You can be anything, you can be anyone. You don't have to be an artist to be creative, right? So that's one, and I think all of us are creative in general. um, when it comes to food, for sure you have to be creative, um, whether you're talking about food or you're cooking food. um, Essentially, for me, food is a way of storytelling. Food is a way of connecting with people, which basically means that connecting, as in, of course, on a very meta level as well as on a very intimate level. Because I have cooked that particular food for you, right? And you have come to me for that particular food. So that's an intimate. You don't necessarily go to anyone and everyone to eat food, but you have given me the opportunity. So that's one. Now the creativity comes at how I'm connecting with you, the stories that I'm going to weave in, the way I'm going to plate the food as well. Everything has a reason, at least for me. Everything has a reason why I'm doing it and why I'm doing this way, not that way. So yeah, so I think that's the creativity, and then it's very easy. It's not that difficult. People make it sound like, oh, creativity is so difficult. No, it's not. It's very easy. I mean, from the people who just, I mean, you wake up in the morning and want to hammer the nail on the wall. That requires a creativity as well. A creativity of not hurting yourself and just hammering the nail in the wall and not in your skin, right? So that's a creativity, and of course logic as well. Um, so, and a storytelling in general follows a similar kind of logic. Um, Again, but depends, right? At times, if you're writing it for kids, maybe not want to add logic there. You want to make it flowery, you want to make it rosy, magic. Um, so that's what you do. But otherwise, if you follow in general like a logical trail of thought, even for kids as well, it makes that sort of storytelling lot very different. Like you can't say that I woke up in the morning and I uh, kick started my cycle and then I pushed my car, right? So that's not logical, because if you're waking up in the morning and you can't kick start your cycle, and if you're in the cycle, then how did you drove your car out, right? So that's something logical thinking. So if you put logic there, everything sounds so good. Everything sounds good.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Closet Writer Chronicles. I'm your host Sangeeta, aka the Moody Marshmallow. You just heard our guest for today, Sadaf Hussain. Sadaf is a chef, writer, and food history enthusiast. He has worked with over 20 restaurants and is a co host of the award winning Indian food podcast Naan Curry. He was also a finalist on MasterChef India in 2016. He has written the book Dastan-E-Dastarkhwaan, contributed to books like Forgotten Foods and Desi Delicacies, and has forayed into writing for children. But before all this, Sadaf studied marketing and worked at an economics think tank. Before we move into the conversation, I want to give a quick shout out to Zencaster Podcasting Made Easy. So, I've been podcasting for about 2 years now, and I stumbled onto Zencaster while I was recording season 2 of the show. Though I only use the audio recording version, they have a video recording feature, and you can now edit your episodes on the platform as well. If you're a podcaster looking for an all-in-one podcast workstation, then check out Zencaster. You'll find a special offer link in the description of this episode, for which you'll get 30% off by using the code ClosetWriter. Now let's tune in to hear about Sadaf's journey with food and writing. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Closet Writer Chronicles. This week we have with us Sadaf Hussain. Welcome to the show, Sadaf. It's so good to have you here.
Hello, it's so good to be have myself there. So good to be here.
Yeah, a virtual meeting
A
nonetheless.
virtual meeting,
But
yeah. I'm usually not used to be on the guest side. When I used to record my podcast, I'm mostly the host. So
okay.
yeah, it's interesting, weird, and awesome to be the other side of the table.
Well, I hope this is an enjoyable experience for you, which I will ask you at the end of the show. But the first thing I do want to kind of, just to dive right in, the first thing, which I ask all my guests is, what is your earliest memory of, being creative, and when was your interest in food sparked?
I was very creative in a way because I so I grew up in Jharkhand. Okay, a lot of people think that I grew up in Lucknow because I give like a very good vibe of Lucknow person, but I didn't grow up in Lucknow. But anyway, at my house, I remember, um, I don't know what I was doing, but there was nobody at home. Okay, I was young, lot younger than I was a kid, probably 5 or 6, and this has nothing to do with food. So if you or people are thinking that it will culminate in food, it will not. I will give you a food example separately, but this is my creativity. Um, so I still recall I was probably 5 or 6, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and we had this one wooden shelf which used to be my favorite shelf. Um, because in the modern times you don't necessarily see a lot of wooden shelves, like a good wood, not like a the kinds of wood that you get in the market today, but really nice good wood. I don't know what wood, but good wood, right? It's a blue green something color. Anyway, there used to be on that shelf my mother's cosmetics, right? Not like she would use a lot of cosmetic, but whatever the products were, from like talcum powder to moisturizer to cream, etc., etc. And this is way before all these the modern minimalists and Wow and Mama's has come in and all that ordinary and whatever brands exist. This is way before that. So this is the era of Ponds and Nivea and Lakme, right?
Yeah.
And Vaseline. So I don't know what I was doing. I remember there was a small box like a dibby, um,
Okay.
and I took that and I put Vaseline, Pond's talcum powder, that rose Pond's talcum powder, if people still remember, some sort of a fairness cream, Pond's cream, Nivea, everything, everything mixed together in a pasty thing, right?
Okay.
Um, yeah, and then it was nice to smell, by the way, because so many different, because also because like 90s time, a lot of like modern times, you've got different kinds of fragrance, and then from chemically produced fragrance to natural fragrance, right? And in the 90s you had very chemically produced talcum powders or things like, if people remember in the 90s going to a salon, uh, they would it's not the expensive one but the cheaper one, where you would get your haircut for like $5 or less than that, by the way. Then they used to, at least this is for the men salon, uh, जिसको कि हम हिंदी में नाई की दुकानें बोलते हैं या हजामत की दुकानें.
Okay.
um, so there you would have this very very perfumey, very chemically, uh, like radioactive fragrance type. I don't know if
Okay.
that was if that helps you identify. So it's like very fragrant sandalwood or like a rose flavor fragrant, right? Which will just go up in your nose and stay there for like a month.
Okay.
That kind of a thing. So yeah, so when I mixed all these different things, it became like a one paste, and a paste of different fairness creams, moisturizer, talcum powder, Vaseline as well, the Vaseline petroleum jelly. So all these things went together, became a paste. I don't know what I did with that. I think I put it on my face or on my hand. So something happened. Hand isn't just my palm, and I was just giving like a stamp on the wall. Uh,
Okay.
so that was one creativity. Second creativity, which was there till the time we left our house, literally, because I never got that segment painted, which was using my mother's lipstick. And I'm assuming a lot of people are master done it, using my mother's lipstick and then marking my hand, like drawing the outline of my hand on the
Oh,
wall itself.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, very creative, very nonsensical creative I was. Yeah, so I don't know what I did with that, but I did something. Yeah, that's what kids do. They're idiot. I mean,
No,
cute
not at
idiots.
all.
I mean, cute idiots like dogs. Dogs are idiot, but they're so nice and cute idiot. Uh,
I mean,
yeah,
mm, I
stupid
don't know if
idiot.
I don't know if dog lovers how much they will agree, but sure. I mean,
No, when
I'm
I'm
a
saying,
cat lover, so yeah. But
uh, no, when I say idiot, I'm not like in a derogatory, like in a very,
yeah, yeah, I know what you mean.
uh, it's like yeah, it's such nice. It's like when you call
Yeah,
often when
like
you
very
call somebody,
innocent.
Yeah, okay, that's
Like
a
very
better word.
naive.
Innocent, very naive. Yeah, very naive.
Yeah.
So yeah, idiot is a better word. So yeah,
No,
so
but I
that's
think
what I
a lot
used to
of
do.
kids used to do this because I used to also go into like my mother's room, like in the sense like I'd go to the her dressing table and like, you know, open the drawer and like take out the lipsticks and like do things. And I drew on the wall once. I remember she's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "You just." But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of kids have done this, so very relatable.
Yeah, my assumption. This is my assumption while I'm just talking, and I also used to think it before because often we relate with our mother's smell,
Hmm.
right? And then in a way, mother smell like a newborn baby has a peculiar smell, which is like a Johnson baby oil or baby powder smell, right? Uh, Now, when the mothers would put all these different kind of products, that be their smell. So I don't know, maybe it's a familiarity or something. And when you put all of them together, then you want to see that how can I create my mother?
Yeah, I guess.
So
I think I
maybe
just wanted to draw on the wall. I
maybe
don't know
that
if,
could be a
what I was
reason
trying to
why.
do. I think I was just very fascinated by the color. I remember that. I was like, I want to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for lipstick, I would do the same thing. I'm not fascinated with the color because lipstick doesn't really have
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
flavor or uh,
Yeah.
fragrance as such.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just draw. You're like, अच्छा अभी मेरे को drawing copy नहीं
Yeah.
मिला and I will draw
Pretty
anyway.
much. But how did it start for
Yeah,
then food for you?
yeah. So I
Like,
could.
what kind of sparked your interest there?
Oh, so I was always interested in food, and that's why I keep telling people that I was always interested in food. And I'll give you three examples to showcase my love for food. Um, I'll ask this is a question for you. What, do you remember going? Do you not remember? Of course, you may not necessarily remember, but do you recall your first day of school?
No, not really. Like
But
my
you
first, my
could
first, my
picture it.
first day of like kindergarten, like play school.
Any garden.
Okay, I don't.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember, I kind of remember my first day of senior Montessori, which is like upper KG. The reason I remember it so well is because I was not very happy with my teacher because what happened is we could choose which like class we want because it was divided into like two sections. So I chose the wrong section because the teacher I got was like just ridiculously strict, like to the point where she never let me and two, three other kids like we weren't allowed to eat our break because we couldn't do numbers or something like that. And then of course there was a complaint against this teacher because she was just being harsh with like 5-year olds. But yeah, that's why I remember it. So I was like, wrong choice. I should have stayed in the other section. Why did I go into this one section?
Wow, you had traumatic childhood. No,
Yeah,
let
that
let
is
me
quite
rephrase.
dramatic.
Let me rephrase. Um,
Yeah.
why do you think kids actually go to school to study? Kids, I'm not talking about play school or something. Play school to play करने के लिए जाता है. Because the parents are like हमें ऑफिस जाना है तो बच्चों क्या करें so they throw your kids to the play school. But I'm saying is in general when you actually go to school to study,
Hmm.
do you think people go to school to study? People as in students, the very first class.
I think the first reason is probably maybe just to get them used to um like social engagement, like and social environment because
But I'm saying students don't go. But as a kid, I did. Okay, let me just cut it short. As a kid, people didn't. I didn't really go to school to study, and that's why my assumption is that kids don't really go. I mean, because they don't
yeah,
even know
that's
what to
true. Yeah,
study.
yeah,
Like, what to study
100%.
for? Yeah, it's like you first get accustomed to, of course, going to school. Then, of course, you have this nice teacher who is nice teacher in general, who is
Yeah.
clever teacher. Uh, or you start and then the day you start going to school then you find this one girl or a boy and then suddenly you have this pup love like or you have a crush on your
At the age of 5 or 6.
classmates now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
man,
I
people
mean,
these
these
days have
days,
crush at the
yeah.
age of
But
5 or 6 as well.
like, because I'm a
Yeah,
90s kid too, I don't remember anyone having like a
yeah, then you've never had a nice looking boy
maybe,
or girl
I
in school.
guess. Yeah, possible.
Yeah, see. That could be a reason. I'm just saying. But so it's okay anyway. So I went to school not to study as well. Right, my school was like 5 minutes walking from my house, very close to a house, and that's why I could never bunk my classes. Well, even till my class 10th, I was in this particular school, never able to bunk my class because where will I go? Anyway, you'll go in a small town, right? Small town, everybody knew my father. They're like, Sadaf, what are you doing here? So you can't really do chill, whatever you call it. Uh, so anyway, so when I went to school, I still recall, and I recall because I was told all these things. There used to be an English teacher of mine called Das ma'am, my absolute favorite. I don't think she's around anymore. Anyway, so and I was also a round kid,
Okay.
by the way. I was quite a fat plump kid. Um, तो I would sit and मुझको ना बड़ी जोर की नींद आती थी. Like किताब खुलती है मुझे नींद आती है, like. So then what she would do is she'll pick me up and she will put me in the last bench, right, for me to be able to sleep properly. Okay. Um, Now that was a routine, but why I went to school was food. Now you say ki, no, so that doesn't mean I went to a Sarkari school where you had the midday meal. Midday meal is also very not is a very late 90s thing, because when you wake up, whatever time you wake up, 6:30 or 6:45, you leave for your school, right? And I said 5 minutes from my home, so 6:30 I'll get my first food, which is breakfast in general. Then, because we were kids, so at 9 o'clock we get the
Okay.
lunch
Oh,
in the
okay.
school, right? And then by 10 we'll be home again, because small, like a half a day in a way, because by 1 the school is over. So 10 you will get like a chutti. Okay. So 6:30 meal, 9 the lunch, whatever it is, and 10 your school is done, you come home. And then once you're home, your mother will feed you, of course. At least my mother did. So she did feed me at 10. Then at 12, which is a legit lunch time, 12 or 1, is when you have the lunch again. So at the span of roughly like 4 or 5 hours, I will get to eat like 4 or 5 times.
Wow. Okay.
My prime motive was that. Genuine prime motive was to eat food. And as I said, because every time I go to school and I'm sitting on the first bench, and if I'm sleeping there, my teacher would just pick me up and put me the last, so that I can sleep properly, right? And it's very very encouraging. So yeah, so my mother was really angry at certain point in time, because she told me she went to the teacher. She like, I don't send my kid here in the school to sleep. You need to understand
Okay.
this. So so that could be my first ever love for food, and that grew, and this I've told to so many people, uh, that as a kid I wanted to be a fattest kid on earth.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, people have kids are weird. This kid was weird for sure. I was weird for sure. Everybody was like, "Oh, I'll become engineer, doctor, then runway model, or whatever." I wonder what kids say these days. I'll become a YouTuber. Anyway, so that time I was like, no, I would become the fattest kid on earth. So I would eat a lot, and because I think when you eat a lot, you also kind of take interest in what you're eating. At least this happened to me, right? To understand what am I eating, and how it is prepared, and that sort of fascinated me. So yeah, so that could be a reason why I think I started taking interest in food.
Hmm. Interesting. Nice.
Lum, Lumba detour to food talk.
No, it's fine. But then the thing is, okay, you got interested in eating, and I guess that's how the interest in food began. But you actually went on to study advertising, got a master's in animation, and then worked in an economics think tank. So, kind of take us through each of those decisions or choices you made.
I have now an MBA in HR as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Okay,
I have
wow.
I
Okay,
have
I didn't know that.
I have everything apart from food degree.
Yeah, no, so
uh,
how did this sort of trajectory happen in the sense that, oh, I'll study advertising, get a master's in animation, work in an economics think tank? Like, what was that like?
yeah. Yeah, life choices, poor life no, not poor life choices, it happened. Okay, so as I said that I was interested in food. In fact, my family, mostly paternal, maternal as well, but mostly it was paternal, and we would sit around the dining table and we would only talk about food. People talk about the world, the politics, this and that, and everything else, but we would talk about food. Oh, and when we come to visit folks in Delhi, then we talk, oh, have you been to that shop in Old Delhi, or this shop in Old Delhi, or have you had this halwa or that halwa, or this nihari or that nihari? That's what we would talk about. And that, of course, then it keeps hammering in my head, right? I'm like, something is interesting. Uh, Also everybody grew up watching Sanjeev Kapoor and Tarla Dalal. So I was one of them as well. Grew up watching them, but I also grew up watching this other show as well. Now, grew up watching as in I remember seeing few of these episodes, and then now in the latest memory, I saw them
Hmm.
on YouTube as well. It's called Daawat. It was way before Sanjeev Kapoor's time. This was a very good old classic cooking show where you had greats like Pushpesh, Pant, Manjeet, Gill, Jiks, Karla, and so many other folks, right? Uh, Tarun, Sibal, and all these guys were used to cook on the show. So beautiful show. If anybody, if you
Okay.
are interested in checking it out, it's on YouTube as well. Few of the episodes, if not all of them. Yeah. So yeah, so that was in that sort of the interest, yeah, was there, and I would always cook at my house as well. So it was not like I won't cook. I will often. I will give this to my mother or my father. So my mother and father both used to cook. My mother, the other reason why I started taking interest in food was because my mother was half paralyzed. So
Okay.
at the age of 8, when I was 8, she got the paralysis attack. Right. So father, mother both in a way came together as a team, right? And so for example, father would roll the roti and mother would seko it, right? Or if father would chop the sabziyan, then mother would cook it.
Okay.
Also, she used to love her own food, not like a house help. So she would she would get somebody to do like a cleaning, but never the food because she enjoyed cooking since a child, actually, since she was a child kid. Because my khalas, my aunt, they always say that my mother was very clear. She wants to cook food. So I think somewhere that gene came to me. Um, then class 12th, which is when you jump into college, I was interested in cooking food, but then cooking food is becoming a chef, and this is still before MasterChef time. Okay, um,
Hmm.
and cooking was not quote unquote sexy enough. uh, this was like मेरा बच्चा बावर्ची थोड़ी बनेगा कि मतलब भांडे बर्तन उठा रहा. And that was a thing that still is a thing for a lot of these small town folks. And then a lot of people who are proper chefs currently, if you would ask them, they would also say that they would ask the same one thing, that I was
Hmm.
not good in studies and hence I
Okay.
became a chef because no other college will take me, which is a sad thing to actually think about. Because you were so terrible in
Hmm.
studies, that you had to take food, right? Which is what I'm saying is it's now, I think, in the modern times changing post
Yeah.
MasterChef. Cooking became a sexy thing. Sexy chefs like Vikas, Khanna, Ranveer, Brar, Gordon Ramsay, Marco Pierre, and all these Anthony Bourdain, and all these sexy looking men also started coming in. I'm saying men because Abhi bhi is still heavily
Yeah.
dominated by men, but of course there are
Hmm.
sexy looking women as well, and I'm not going to
Nigella
name them.
Lawson. Yeah.
Nigel Lawson, yes, of course. Padma Lakshmi,
Yes,
yeah.
of course. Yeah.
There are many of these friends who are Indian chefs who also happen to
Okay.
be a friend of mine.
Okay.
I will
Okay.
not name them. I will name them separately. but but yeah, so because of that, I was told, this is not something which you would do, right? And I told you about my creativity part, that I was so creative in life. So I then started studying advertising because that would require a creative bent, and not like creative copy, like not designing yet, right? I was into
Right.
copy, that I really wanted to do, like write and become a copywriter. So yes,
Okay.
so that was the whole thing. I still remember that my very first class induction was happening, and we would talk like fresh college student, like the day one of your uh, class in college, and our teacher came in, our HOD came in and talked about it, how great this is, but you have picked up this particular course, and your life is going to change because advertising is the most important thing in the world, and all that. And I remember this one of my at that time my favorite teacher. Um, he was an MBA teacher, but he would also take a class. He was a guest faculty in our college. Uh, he would take. He came and he said one line which still stuck, like still like plastered in my head, which he said that "Jungle में मोर नाचा किसने देखा," right? And through that he talked about it, how if it was not for advertising or marketing of telling that hey, peacocks actually dance, nobody would have learned about that particular fact. And hence he said it is so important for advertising. So everything was like plastered in my head, and I was thinking like, yeah, man, today post this, after the course is over, I will get like Ogilvy Martha. Right? O&M was my yeah, it was my dream company. And also because the 90s and the early 90s, late 90s, early 2000, O&M was like on BB here, but that was on peak pinnacle, right? There's a lot of different campaigns that you would see in the market. O&M, like straight up, all these geniuses, right? Prahlad Kakkad and other folks who were there. And when growing up, they were the big names, essentially. So yeah, so I was like, O&M is my place. And once the course was getting over, then of course, I was like, the obvious gradual step is to learn animation, because of course I have this copywriting, but I also want to like understand animation, because at the time animation was really coming up. uh, so I started learning animation. It was a 2 years diploma course, master's diploma course. uh, so I finished that as well. It's a different thing that I got bored of it. I genuinely got bored
Okay.
of it. But I can't do
Okay.
this. I can't sit and work. That was the problem. So yeah, so that was all that was happening. And then I came to Delhi to work. Yeah, and I was work. I mean, so I worked as a designer. I didn't work as an animator. If you remember, if you, I'm sure there's popular cartoon in the modern times, Chota Bheem, 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 Chota
Yeah,
Bheem.
yeah.
So I
Yeah.
worked with them as well for the bit.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, and then in my city, I was working at this. I started with a newspaper, a Hindi newspaper, and I was a designer for them. Then I moved to another PR firm, and I was designing for them. I was doing events for them, startup essentially of that time. Um, so I was working with as a designer and as a marketing events guy. A campaign essentially. I would create the whole campaign from builders to political parties, right? So that was the whole thing I used to do. Yeah, and then 1.5 or 2 years, I think roughly, I moved to Delhi,
Okay, yeah.
and in Delhi, I was working at this think tank. Um, yeah, so that's where the
That's
think tank life
okay.
started.
Well, that's interesting. So then you do all this, and then when do you then just decide that okay, you know what, forget all this. I want to pursue a career in food, and because you started a pop up cafe called Bread and Better, which I read about, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. How did this happen? But yeah, so when did you kind of just decide to jump in?
So this was during the think tank time only. Um, Me and a friend of mine, Mansi, she is in US now. Um, Both of us used to be in this. I mean, we were working together, we were colleagues, right? And she used to love baking. She used to make really amazing cakes, by the way, like a homemade, good homemade cake,
Okay.
which is very rare in the modern time, right? Because all of us like, oh, we want like an entremet kind of style. We want like a shitloads of cream. Everything we should like smear lather with the cream, like so, like good old versions of cake, like a Christmas cake.
Right.
It's a dense, nice, homely, fuzzy feeling cake, right? Whether you want to put an alcohol or not, that's a different thing. But a nice cake. So she used to make that kind of a cake. Um, so anyway, both of us were doing the same thing, which is economics, and we would go to different colleges, different schools, colleges across the
Yeah.
country. We would take lectures. We would give lectures essentially on economics and public policy, all that, right? And then eventually we started getting bored of it. We like, yeah, thak gaye. Because day in day out you're doing the same thing, and hence we sat together one day. I'm like, how to break this thing? And that's when we came up with the idea of doing a pop-up cafe.
Okay.
That, oh, let's do a pop-up cafe. This was something. At the same time, you had the Bohri kitchen in Bombay,
Oh, okay.
right? They are popular now. They are picked up by Riyaz Amlani as well. We were in Delhi. There was absolutely, and I'm saying with utmost respect, I don't think there was anybody, and that's why I call Bread and Better to be the first pop-up in Delhi, because there was nobody else doing it. We were also not the full-time guys. So unlike the Bohri kitchen Munaf, who started this, he was doing it with his mother, and he was popular as the guy who left Google to open
Okay.
up his own cafe. Yeah, so many articles got written on him. Yeah, I have never met him though, so that's a different. That's a shame that I have never met him. But he started in Bombay. He left his job. Both of us didn't leave our job, so this thing became our side happy thing. Not even a hustle, just a thing to give us a break. Uh, so this we started in 2015. We would Both of us were doing it. We were doing pop up cafes at different places, different houses essentially, not at our house. But it was like a fancy moving cart, right? So, but mostly in South Delhi, and we will go to our friend's house and we'll say, hey, we'll take your house for like a day, uh, and they're like, yeah, why not? And then I remember that after 3 or 4 of these pop-ups, no, people start taking interest. Our friends only, like, hey, why don't you host cafe pop-up at our house? I'm like, sure,
Oh, wow.
because
Okay.
then they would also call their friends, and then they were nice. Like for them, it became like a hangout thing. We would open our doors to random strangers as well, and then they would come, they would eat. Uh, we had like a few loyalists, and they would come every time when wherever we go. So yeah, so that's how Better and Better started in 2015. It was fun, right? But then 2016 came, and then MasterChef started, uh, and that changed the world.
No, because when I read about your pop-up cafe bread and better, actually one of the things that came to my mind was because it reminded me, and I could be completely wrong about this, but it reminded me of that show called Take Home Chef, which used to come on Travel and Living. Curtis Stone, yeah, I think, yeah. So I was like, oh, this is kind of like that, which I thought was really interesting. Um,
Yeah, no, I wanted to. That's so. Yeah, so good. You've done all your homework. So take home chef was something which I wanted to be
oh,
post
okay.
my pop up. Yeah, I was like, you know what, people can call me, and I would make your date. Like for example, you don't have to go out, right? The reason of I'm saying that I'm carefully saying date and not like a family gathering, because I feel like food is very intimate things, right? It's just an intimate thing. It sort of connects people. It connects food and people together, and hence a date, right? Because the date setup is itself very intimate, right? So I wanted to be. That was my thing. I still want. I mean, that's one of the things that I still want to. I used to sort of become a chef who helps you uh, live that date. Uh, and of course, I mean, for that date, I'm assuming it doesn't have to be the first date, because the first date is not something which you which people at least in India would come over. It could be like a fifth, sixth, seventh, or like an anniversary or something of that sort, right? Uh, People who think that they can't go on a date with their better half once they are married, bullshit. Sorry, bakwas. Uh, so yeah. Um, and that's why that was my thing, that I would do it only for people to sort of intimate stuff, but I could never do it. It never got a chance, opportunity, or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, so better and better, but better and better, the concept was very different. It was just to call people, hang out. You can come up with your date, your family, whoever you want to. Also, the thing was, my kitchen was open, so it was a home kitchen, right? And anybody can just walk into the kitchen. There's absolute no problem. You come, you hang out with me. It was a cafe essentially, but if you want to see that how your food is being cooked, yeah, please come. Absolutely no issues. Come eat with me in the kitchen itself. Talk to me about the food. And I was always interested in talking about food, letting people know about the food that they're having. So I would do all of that stuff. Yeah, that was the whole, and it was really a fun thing, because we're doing our economic stuff on side, and then we are doing our food thing as well once a month, and everybody in the office knew about us, and then they would uh, always, if they have something, they would say, hey, why don't you host your pop up at our house, or just we are having friends, we'll bring them over. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, but then like you said, right after that MasterChef happened, you know, how did you kind of, I guess, decide to just give yourself a shot and, go for it? And what was that whole experience for you like?
Oh, I genuinely saying, I thought MasterChef show doesn't really, it's not there anymore. It's dead.
No, but
Because I
at the
wasn't really seeing it.
no, no, but at the time, like why like you decided to obviously apply and go on the show, right? And
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah.
no, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm coming to. So I thought it's dead.
Oh.
It doesn't air anymore. So a friend of mine was like, "Hey," and I what I used to do is I would cook often on weekends, right? And then I'll make extra, so like in the next day I can take it to the office. I'll feed people, because I more than eating now. I like feeding people, and that gives me kick. I was telling somebody recently, like last week, that I buy people's loyalty by feeding them. Uh, Actually, not loyalty. Sorry, I buy people's love, loyalty. Yeah, this is what I messed up then as well, and I messed up today as well. I'm like, loyalty ka to pata nahi hai. Love, yes, at least that momentary love. That's how I buy. people's momentary love by giving them food. Um, so yeah, so interesting that so anyway, so my friend told me that, hey, why don't you apply for MasterChef? And I like, show band nahi ho gaya hai?" Like, no. Uh, and that's when I got so my friend sent me this list on WhatsApp saying, hey, go for it. And I am someone who still think the same thing, which I thought then, that ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा क्या होगा, one day की छुट्टी जाएगी ना. Um, but if I'm able to crack this, then life will change, right? And that's exactly what I did. I'm like so it's like when people say, no, when you hit rock bottom, there's only upward, there's no downwards, right? It was not my rock bottom, but it's like I have nothing in anyway,
Hmm.
right? I have nothing as in food wise,
Yeah.
but if I do this, then I'll have something. So I have nothing to lose as such, but a lot to gain. They're like, let's go for it. So I went for the audition, and I remember I love kebab, by the way.
Okay.
This was Ramzan ka mahina, and I do fast. So I was like, okay, I will. So early morning, I got up. Five. I mean, I had my sehri and everything. Then I slept for an hour and got up at 5:30. Cooked the food. It was a Malaysian satay, which is a Malaysian chicken kebab
Okay.
essentially. So I made that and I took it to the audition, and I had to also break my fast, by the way, because this was also peak summer. It was, I think,
Oh,
July or June,
okay.
right? And there's so many people there, apps like endless people. A lot of people have bought for some reason they bought cakes, right, to feed these judges, which got melted. Of course, it melted. So I'm like, imagine if cake is melting, then what will happen to my body? So I was completely dehydrated. So I still recall that around 2 or 3, I was waiting for my round. I reached to the audition around 11ish, but again, peak summer, peak dhoop, and everything. But finally, when I got in, they tasted my food, and then I was waiting, and then I was like, I will faint if I will not have anything. So I had to break my fast. I had something. I mean, I picked up water from around, and then ate. Sorry, drank water, a lot of water.
Hmm.
Uh, so yes, that's what I remember. But then the people liked my chicken kebab or the Malaysian satay, and yeah, that's how MasterChef started. And when I was in the show, then I was like, things changed to uske baad. तो फिर then I was like, okay, I have I have new skills in life.
Yeah, but no, how is it for you in terms of, I guess, developing, your own skills and I guess sort of opening uh, new horizons for you, because obviously after the show, I mean, was it easier for you then to kind of to break into the hospitality industry, like the food and beverage industry, or did that help? Or do you think it was still difficult for you even after MasterChef to really like get your foot in the door?
Yeah, interesting question. No, it still is difficult for many reasons. I'll come to all the reasons. Number one, what it taught me, the experience was beautiful, I would say. Um, I also learned that it's a show. Okay,
Right.
a lot of people who still till date, when they get eliminated, they get like, oh no, it's not fair, it's this and that. You have to understand it's a show, right? They're making a show. Uh,
Right.
by the virtue of them making a show, actually not just them, like pick up Indian Idol or pick up dance shows or anything, right? They're making a show, and by the virtue of making a show, you're also being made, right?
Yeah.
So that's my thing. Like, nobody is doing ihsan on anybody. So
Yeah.
if they have sort of said that you are the winner, then great, because it worked for them and it worked for you,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Luck worked, food worked, everything worked. um, but a lot of people during my time, even today, a lot of people who get eliminated from the show, from any show, actually from any of the shows, not just food show. Why would I just pick up food show? Any of the shows, they have this animosity, right? That, oh no, show was unfair, show was this, show was that, XYZ. And I'm like, sure, but what it can also give you a platform. And
True.
um, I remember when I got eliminated, and this was this true story. When I sort of made friends with so many people on the show itself, on the set, like not just my sort of competitors, so to speak. We became really good friends, but also like the camera guy, the spot guy, the crew, the team, essentially to hold this whatever number 500,000 people who were working on the show. I became friends with so many people, including like a dress people, right, who would give me the dress and everything. Uh,
Right.
that I was told that when I left, when I was eliminated from the show, uh, a lot of them were just crying
Oh,
because this happy-go-lucky guy is now gone. Like everybody's crying on the show, but this guy is the only guy who doesn't really cry. Because I mean, I don't find. I mean, I sure cry, but I'm like cry for a reason, not just because you have to. So
okay.
so so I would not cry, but I'm just I was happy and like so मैं मजे से and I like having this being this jolly guy, being this fun guy, right? Um, but the interesting thing was people were crying around me. एक कबीर की वो है दोहा है जग हंसा हम रोए. Have you heard of that?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. Or maybe read this in college or school and have no memory.
Now in the modern times, of course, it's also become a song that people have started singing. हाँ, so the line is कविता जब हम पैदा हुए जग हंसा हम रोए ऐसी करनी कर चले हम हंसे जग रोए. Right? That when you're born, of course, you're the one who's crying, and then the world is laughing, world is smiling, having fun because hey, the kid is born. But when you're going, then do something that the world is crying because this guy is gone. So yeah, that's what I feel like. That's what people should do. I mean, and that comes because you're a nice person. So
Mm,
you don't have to be like a bad person in general, and then you can put whatever privacy shabd of bad that you want to add there, whatever synonyms that you want to uh, be nice to people. So yeah, so I understood a lot of things, a lot of these things, right, on the show itself. uh, like like for example, we would go on the set by 9 or 10, right?
uh-huh.
um, but imagine to make the whole show, all these people are standing there since like 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning, right? They have come before you. They're not even complaining about it. I mean, of course, they must be complaining, but you don't get to complain because look at
Yeah.
them. Look at them. They're already standing there for like since 7 or 6 in the morning and standing, right? And standing, working, going back and forth, back and forth. So, yes, I've that made me a lot more humble. That respect and respect everyone's work. Don't just say that because you're you're just giving water. Yeah, he is just giving water. That's so important because otherwise you will
Yeah.
die if you wouldn't get the water from him. Uh,
Yeah.
or if there's somebody who is just standing on the trolley, let's say, so there's a camera person sitting on the trolley, and then there's somebody who's just moving the trolley. That's very important because you need to move the trolley so that you look good on the camera. Um,
Yeah.
so don't diss anybody. I don't understand why. I mean, even today, people just unless it's absolute. And I'm not saying I don't trash people. I do. When I don't really get mad, but when I get mad, it's because there's something which has happened which is completely not tolerable. Uh,
Right.
like it happened that I will tell you, it happened like 2 weeks, 3 weeks back at an event because Mike. I mean, I don't drive, but my cousin and I were going at an event to check to do Reiki basically, and some genius guy came and parked behind us like a double parking.
Oh,
And I'm trying to find who is this
okay.
guy, and because of him, we waited for 45 minutes, and he had to go somewhere pick up some stuff. I had to go somewhere pick up stuff. We couldn't, and the guards were like, "Yes, sir, there's guy who is there inside the premise, and you can find him." And I'm trying to find him, and like I wouldn't know. So he said, "Oh, he was wearing check shirt, right?" And I'm trying to find the check shirt person, and found like 10,000 check shirt people. Couldn't, and none of these guys. And then finally, I'm like, okay, now what to do? We'll just wait for this genius guy who was double parked. um, anyway, so all that was happening, and that's one thing. The show made me a lot more humble. Show made me see things differently. Uh, I remember this one dialogue of Chef Vikas as well, because we were doing this after this one, like a party was happening, like an after show party, right? We are just hanging out and all. So Chef Vikas calls me up and he's like, "Hey, Sadaf, like hi, like come, let's talk." So I was talking to him, and he said that, "Why are you here? Like, why are you here on the show?" Right? And I told him that I know why I'm not here. Uh, he said, "What do you mean I am?" I'm like, "No, I don't know why I'm here, but I know why I'm not here. I'm not here to. I don't want to put this celebrity stamp on me, right?
Right.
Which means that not the stamp, which with the celebrity stamp, I meant I don't want to put this air in my head that this guy has earned this name so being so arrogant and cocky, right? That was not never the plan. That still is not the plan. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so he said a great thing. He said, you know what, when I won my first Michelin, and when I came back home, I was super happy, super proud of myself, because this one immigrant from Amritsar who ran, ran to US, and sort of then earning one of the prestigious awards and being the biggest name as of now in the Indian food industry. Uh, he said that when I came home with this award, when I came home, as in when I informed my mother said that, keep your crown outside when you walk into a house,
Right.
which basically means that you're the big guy outside. But for people who matter the most, people who saw you grow, don't give them any tantrum, right? That cemented. Like, this is a good thing to do. That, so a lot more humbleness came to me. Um, but to answer your second question, which is, was it easy? No, it wasn't, because a lot of it was easier for me than other folks for sure. Um, because I, from day one, I told myself that I don't necessarily want to be, just like I want to burn my hands. Essentially, I want to work in the kitchen, right? So, so whatever I would get, I will do it. Less money, no money, but I will do it. So I was doing a lot of stuff uh, with my economics work, by the way. So I was doing double duties. I would be in the office.
Oh,
I would be
okay.
in the office from 10 to 6, and then 6 I leave, 7 I reach my cafe. I work there till 2 in the night, come back, sleep for like 4 5 hours, and then head back to the office. So this went for like 6 7 months, because I wanted to just give in whatever I have, right? Um, so in that, it was easier because I people trusted me. People saw something in me, and then they were like, you can run the kitchen. I was lucky to actually head kitchens as well. Within like right after my MasterChef stint, I was lucky. I was also, I generally wasn't like in the modern times, and I'm nothing to bash people, but in the modern times, a lot of MasterChefs, people like, oh, we want to be influencer. So many of them just want to be
Okay.
influencer. So many of them just want to be like cooking something on the Instagram or YouTube world only, right? Nothing else. They don't want to be uh, essentially the big dream that they say, oh, we want to be this and that and all that is just a lie. uh, None of them are doing any of that, right? There are only handful people from at least my season, uh, a few from the previous. um, and again, it's not, nothing is wrong in being an influencer, in being this food critique, a food blogger, whatever, food vlogger as well. Nothing is wrong. I mean, but as long as you're clear, I was clear that I don't want to be that. I was clear that I want to be in the kitchen and I want to burn my hands. So yes, I was doing it. And then a lot of times I was getting slacks from people as well, saying, no, but you know what? You are not a chef because you're not a trained chef. Um, for us, the chefs means only 10. And I would get also a little furious because, all the good old chefs have never been trained chefs. They have got training from the ustads, from the masters. Even the modern chefs as well, when they have a degree for sure, but nothing beyond whatever they learn from their travel stories, their parents, their people around. Um, so yeah, so that's what the difficult part was. Still is difficult, and I won't say it's not difficult. Food world is in general is a difficult space, because you put in long man hours, as in man slash woman hours, and then you don't get that kind of a recognition. You don't get that kind of a money. You don't get that kind of a izzat as well. So like we see Ranveer Brar and we see Vikas Khanna and say, oh, bus, yahi to hai. But not everybody is Ranveer Brar and Vikas Khanna, right? If you say
Yeah.
10,000 people are chefs in the world, in the so then उसमें से चार लोग होंगे. There's four people who are Vikas Khannas and Gordon Ramsays, right? बाकी लोग नहीं है. Um, so yeah, so that's what people need to understand. It's a very tough, difficult, tough space. It's cooking is not a job; it's a lifestyle, uh, which basically means that when you are the one who wants to go party, yeah,
Hmm.
chefs are making you party, and they are not partying.
That is true.
Yeah,
That is true.
and that party means any party. That party means आपके बच्चे की शादी हो जाए, आपकी शादी हो. The party means a festival like a Diwali or an Eid or anything else. Um, the restaurants are open. Um, they are not going anywhere. They're just there for you, right? And that's exactly why I feel sad for them, uh, because often a lot of these self-entitled people would come and thrash these guys. I'm
Hmm.
like, dude, ask him or her how much hardship that person is going through just to give you a good hospitality, right? So don't take hospitality for granted. It's a space which is very demanding. It's very demanding. uh, so understand where these guys are coming from, and then there's a high likelihood that that person is way richer than you. At times that's also the chance, right? That he or
Yeah.
she just wants to be a chef, but you're just giving that person a slack for no reason. Usko गाली दे दो पता नहीं क्यों, because you think you are richer or self entitled. So yes, I feel sad for them. मैं जाता हूँ, मैं मजे लेता हूँ, मैं जनरली से मैं किसी मैं जब रेस्टोरेंट बैठता हूँ तो I'm like I'll tell you what happened, and because I feel like, these guys, the chefs or the baristas or the service people are like इतने used to हो गए ना, like hello hi, basic hello hi, and then there's no humanness to it, right? uh,
Connect. Yeah.
Connect, right? Unless you become like a regular to that person, that place. So then it becomes like, then you become like a friend and all. And also they don't have that much time as well to speak with you, to be honest. So कुछ दिन पहले I was at a third wave cafe here, and ऐसे ही मजे करने के लिए, genuinely there was absolute, and I think I was really in a happy mood as well that day. So I asked him to give me flat white, and flat white is a coffee which I drink usually. That's something which I
Okay.
absolutely drink. It's a good coffee. People like, if people want coffee flavor more, then flat white. Black coffee is also there, which I like to make. So at home I drink black coffee. At cafes I drink flat white. Tip for people who are listening and to you as well: if you ever going to do an order like a takeaway home types, like, oh, let me call Bluetooth and get some coffee. Don't order flat white. Always order cappuccino, because by the time flat white will come to you, actually by the time cappuccino will come to you, it will become flat white, right? It will, the
Okay.
foam will settle down. So don't pay like a 240 bucks when you can get cappuccino for 190 rupees, right? So yeah, so that's a tip for people. Uh, yeah, I love my coffee a little too much. Khair. So I was sitting at Bluetooth guy and I asked this guy to give me flat white. Okay. Now, do you like coffee, by the way?
I mean, I drink filter coffee.
Awesome.
So
That's
I
that's
literally live in the land of coffee.
That's the best. That's
So
true.
yeah.
Yeah, the best coffee. That's true.
Yeah.
That's always absolute good. But I'm saying, just in case if you don't want filter coffee, so difference between a flat white and a cappuccino, right? Not latte. Latte की बात नहीं करी.
I usually order cappuccino, but yeah.
हाँ, so that's something. So latte is, as the name suggests, light. It's light, lighter coffee, more less coffee, more milk, and more froth. Now, when you make cappuccino, it's three, like 30 30 30 or 30 30 40. 30 coffee, 30 milk, and then there's 30 or 40 froth, right? That's how the coffee and cappuccino. Now when it comes to flat white, it's 40 and like 50 and 50, which is actually no, 40, 50 and 10. So 10 is that froth, then you have the milk, and then you have 40 50%, 40 to 50 ke aspas, you've got the coffee. So it's a nice coffee that you get, right? So essentially what it means is that if you drink cappuccino, you have a little thick foam when you're drinking, right? For flat white, is that thick foam is not there. So if you take a pack of spoon and just if you move the foam away, you can see the coffee right there. But with cappuccino, that's not the case. If you move it, you have to actually move a lot of froth to get to coffee. So I like flat white. Now I asked the third wave guy, and I like, listen, I need flat white. So he gets me the flat white, and I'm like, pakka flat white. He's like, ha ha, pakka pakka. I'm like, what if you're lying? You're like, no, no, sir, it's flat white only. And the reason I'm saying why I was trying to like poke, like take full masai there, was because while I was ordering, I knew that this guy is going to screw up. This guy is
Oh,
going to,
okay.
yeah. तो मेरे को ऐसे देख के समझ कि ये पक्का, because flat white is also something, again, people don't understand much of coffee, right? So they कुछ भी दे दो सब same होता है, right? And when somebody like me who understand the coffee, I'm like, हाँ ठीक है, this is what it is. So I knew कि पक्का screw up करेगा. So then he comes and he serves me the coffee. I'm like, अगर flat white नहीं हुआ तो, like, no no sir, flat white ही ऐसे कैसे होगा सर, आप barista this and that. And I was like full on मजे ले रहा था. I'm like, अगर नहीं हुआ तो बताओ, वापस कर दूंगा. तुमको ही पीना पड़ेगा. नहीं नहीं सर, अरे यार पक्का वापस कर दियो. So I was doing all this मजे, right? And I'm like, अगर flat white नहीं हुई तो you're going to give me one more cookie which is for free, right? You'll give me one more cookie, because I'm not asking like, हाँ don't give me croissant. I was just ऐसे ही, and that's literally नहीं भी रहता तो भी ठीक था, मजे लेता हूँ. You're like, no no no, पक्का होगा. I'm like, okay ठीक है. So I like get me, so छोटा spoon था to mix the sugar. So I took and I just, scooped the froth. It was not flat white, by the way. It was less than cappuccino for sure, but not flat white. It was like higher than flat white,
Okay.
lesser than cappuccino. So I'm like, ये देखो क्या है ये?
Okay.
So he's like, sir, ये तो flat white है. I'm like, ये flat white नहीं है. You're like, oh my. So then like, yes sir. Then he also realized कि flat white नहीं है. Then he goes back and he gives it a coffee to the guy, brings the coffee back and he gives me the coffee and he's like, अब सर अब करके देखो आप. अगर नहीं हटा, अगर फ्लैट वाइट नहीं हुआ तो सर मैं आपको फ्री में दे दूंगा. So like, अच्छा ठीक है. अब like पहले जाओ मेरी कुकी लेके आओ. So he got me the cookie
Yeah.
and then I moved it and I'm like, then it was flat white. So the reason of इतना लंबा कहानी was also because I think treat people like human. Hospitality people don't get to the time नहीं होता उनके पास. Just talk to them like humans, right? Don't trash them, abuse them for no reason. मैंने अगर आपके खाने में अगर बाल भी निकल गए तो भी ठीक है, निकाल के साइड कर दो. प्याज प्याज से बोल दो कि भैया बाल गिर गए. घर में होता है तो क्या मम्मी को क्या थप्पड़ मार देते हो, मम्मी या पापा को थप्पड़ मार देते हो क्या? कहते हैं ऐसे कैसे मैं नहीं खाऊंगा. अब चुपचाप से खा लेते हो ना. तो अगर बाल भी निकलेगा तो चुपचाप से बोल दो ठीक है, यू विल गेट अ रिप्लेसमेंट, नो नो प्रॉब्लम, नो इशू. आई मीन बिकॉज़ बाल निकलना इज मोर सच अ बैड थिंग फॉर देम. तुमसे अब
Yeah.
उनकी उनकी क्लास लगने वाली है तो आप उनको प्यास बता दो. वो वैसे ही बेचारा मैनेजर से गाली सुनेगा फिर. अपने हेड से गाली सुनेगा ही सुनेगा. तो तुम क्यों एक्स्ट्रा उस पर नमक में डाल घी डाल रहे हो बेसिकली उसके वुंड पे. सो या so all that happened and then that's something I still find it difficult for me, because people still think that, oh, you're not trained chef and everything. um, yeah, so it's a difficult space in general, not just for me. I wouldn't cry for that, but it's a difficult space for a lot of master chefs at least because um, also I think it's also the somewhere the other na TV के लोग हैं ना, so they have this thing in their head as well that हमने तो वहाँ खाना बना लिया तो हम तो बड़े हो गए. I'm like, no bro. I'm like,
Okay.
no, there's far superior people than you cooking, working round the clock, round the year, who are much better than you and I. Collective. So don't get that
Hmm.
air in your head. You are good. Your face looks good. That's it. You're a pretty looking person. Um, that's why you can do like a video. That's why you on TV as well and everything else. But that's the only the quality that you have. Don't diss them saying I am now superior. I can cook better food. No, I know they also
Yeah.
know about it. To be honest, they also know about it. I remember and this guy's now really friend of mine in Delhi, and he's a proper chef. And I was doing my first food demo, and this the restaurant got launched, and the PR reached out to me of the restaurant and saying, "Hey, Sadaf, we would like to have you." And I had a really nice run. Everybody wanted me. They still want I still have the love of people, but it was time for Bita. So I reached. I was there, and I was cooking a Parsi dish called salli pe boti, right? Which is like aloo bhujia, and then there's boti is mutton and all that. And I love that dish, so I was making it. Uh, and this chef was there, and he comes and he was asking me questions, and I didn't know him, of course, because I'm just getting into the food world. Right? I had no idea.
Right.
So he asked me a bunch of the questions, and I looked at him and I answered all of them, just saying,
Okay.
without hesitating. And like, I am the chef here, I should know, and I do my homework. That's what I do my homework. Like I'll do my homework. So I did it, and so he was quite impressed, and he said, "I am chef as well." And I was just testing you that how much you know. I'm like, are you satisfied? I'm like quite happy and satisfied because I haven't met people from the show who know so much about the food. I'm like, yeah, because I want to be. I want to know my thing.
No, but that's what I mean, talking about, not having a formal education, right, in food as such. Um, do you think you would have benefited more if you had that? Or do you think, even if you don't have a formal education, it's still possible to kind of learn the ropes and still kind of make it?
Yeah, no, I think it's both. To be honest, first I'll say the benefit of it having the degree
Okay.
is that it gives you in a way more know-how, uh, like a techniques essentially, which otherwise somebody else will have to go through so many like lessons and learnings in a kitchen to understand all that, right? So yeah, so that's important to have, and also a lot of restaurants, a lot of hotels actually prefer a hotel management degree. So that's one. Unless you're such an old person who is coming from such strong reference, so that's a different thing. However, the second thing I also think that I think somewhere or the other, I feel like a lot of these degree chefs have their thought process very um, like narrow.
Okay.
They can't necessarily think out of the box. They are like, this is what we have learned and this is how we have to do. Um, yeah, so that's why somewhere or the other the learning is not that. wonderful that we would think of. So I think uh, having a formal degree and not has its own pro and con. Um, I've been able to do things without having a formal degree, and there are so many other people as well. I'm sure about it.
Yeah.
And there so many of these modern bakeries essentially. I'm saying bakery for a reason because so many bakers are not a trained chef,
Right.
right? They're not a degree chef. Trained as a not degree chef. They liked baking. They knew about a bunch of things. Then they started with it, and then they saw a bunch of these YouTube videos or learned from people in the space itself, and now they're such a huge bakery that they are. So yeah,
Okay, that's fair. Um, so kind of then, shifting into obviously the writing space because you have worked on books like Dastan-E-Dastarkhwaan, Desi Delicacies, and of course now Forgotten Foods. You also have a blog. So then how did you get into writing and sort of realize that this was something you enjoy doing as well?
I'll tell you. Not many people know about this. Honestly, I hated writing. I hated reading. Both these things were not meant for me. I'm like, यार काम करा लो मेरे से. हाँ काम करा लो ना यार बातें क्या मतलब पढ़ना लिखना क्या है? So see, and here's the thing, and maybe that's still there somewhere in my head, right? कि काम करा लो, and that's why a lot of things that I have done in my life, then you name it, and I'm sure I must have done it, and that's the kind of a person I am, right? It's only because of that that I काम कराओ ना पढ़ाई लिखाई क्या है, right? That what is that you can't do? Apart from so people shouldn't do MBBS. Like sorry, they should do
Okay.
MBBS, but I'm saying they should to become a doctor or to become a pilot. Actually, not so much a pilot, but to become actually let's say both. You need a proper formal training,
Right.
right? Because अब अगर आप बिना डॉक्टर ऐसे हर चीज के लिए आप डोलो और पैरासिटामोल तो नहीं खिला सकते मेरे को ना, right?
Fair.
So you need to to become a doctor. You need a degree. So that's why I think I can never be a doctor, right? But everything else is pretty much you can learn on your own, to be honest, right? In this modern world that we are living in, everything is at your disposal. मतलब आज के बच्चे जो हैं, the Gen Zs, are far superior. They know so much beyond us, and I
True.
think our father would say the same thing for us, right? That ये हमारे बच्चे they know because internet world because we learn better, and then the Gen Zs are no they have more information. So the different thing that they are a different breed altogether, whom I don't understand necessarily. Always, I don't necessarily always understand them, but point is so I never used to like reading writing. I remember one of my the very first organization I was working, the think tank, uh, there my superior of that time, my boss, mentor, superior, whatever you would call him, she tells me, she says that Sadaf, you're good at everything, right? You do fun thing this, you do fabulous that, you do this. So mind blowing, everything is awesome, but भैया लिखाई आपसे नहीं हो पाती है. And then the higher up you grow, what people expect is communication, right?
Mm,
Uh, for example, with this think tank, I used to make a report, and this is not a made up story, it's a real story. I was the one running the entire show, right? I was the one running the policy courses. Um, so I am the one on ground.
right.
तो रिपोर्ट भी तो मुझे ही लिखनी होगी ना. आई एम द वन हू हैज टू राइट द रिपोर्ट. बट भाई काम कराओ, लिखाई पढ़ाई नहीं कराओ. सिंपल. Then I would say, yeah, why me? Somebody else, please. So then we sat down and we started breaking down the report. The donors or funders को what do they need to know? What are the important aspects? So like ये चीजें हैं. So Sadaf, can you write in bullet points? Are you okay with that? Like, yeah, I think I can do bullet point. Like, wonderful. So let's start with bullet points, right? Let's start with that. Let's do put pictures. A lot of take pictures because you like. So I like taking pictures. You take pictures. Wonderful. That's good. Um, write fews the numbers. How many people have like mota mota, like basic information
Mm,
you can give me. Like like okay. Then can you write pointers? Like yeah, I can do that. So that right. कि एक session हुआ उस session में what people talked about like a minutes of the meeting sort of. Can you do that in pointers like a 10-15 point? Like yeah, of course. So then we have to break it down like that, right? And then that become like a report. So yeah, just for me, they had to change the reporting pattern.
wow. Okay.
So, so I'm coming for that space, right? Then my boss says that you're good at everything, but in writing. So I said okay, and I took that as challenge. They are like, I want to be good at this as well. लाइक ऐसा क्या है मतलब, पापा ने इतना पैसा खर्चा किया इंग्लिश पढ़ाने में, तो कुछ तो काम आएगा ही. So then what I did was, I wrote an article on Adam Smith, right?
Okay.
Because I studied Adam Smith in my college and school days. Also at the think tank, we used to study Adam Smith quite a lot. Uh, it was Adam Smith's birthday, I think. So I'm like, I am going to write an article on Adam Smith. Pakka.
Okay.
So I started writing an article, like a blog piece, not for my art, but for the internal blog that we had,
Hmm.
and I did that. I wrote, of course, it went through a couple of just a couple of alterations. That's it, not much. All that. This was, by the way, people who are listening, and for you, this is pre-chat GPT era, right? So I could just
Yeah.
feed information and get article
Yeah.
on Adam Smith, like put on chat GPT and then put it on what's that new AI which is unhuman or something like that,
Oh, I'm not sure.
which gives the language more human touch. That's all
Oh.
that. This is pre-chat GPT era. So yeah, so I was writing the whole article, and once that was done, it was quite nice. I mean, not nice when I compare now, but it was nice for that time. Uh, and it was so nice, and I still remember it was so nice that that became like a stepping stone, right? I said, Sunday I was always running away, but like in college and in school actually, I used to be a good debater. So I would debate, and won like bunch of awards in debating, right? I would write that. I would mug up. I would write. It will be Hindi, English, both. So I'll debate in the school. More like an extempore, not a debate like a. If you're thinking of like an MUN kind of debate, not that. Like an
Okay.
extempore that you will get a topic, you will talk about that, and somebody else will come and that person talk about it. So that. Yeah. So I was good at that. Uh, so वहां से आया and यहाँ पे आया तो and my company's Malik, the main founding chairman, he loved that article so much that he had a Adam Smith bust. I still have it. I still have somewhere. Yeah. So he gave me that. He's like, you know what? You deserve this more.
Wow.
And I'm
Okay.
like, इतना तो अच्छा नहीं लिख दिया था मैंने. I'm like, yeah, इतना ही अच्छा लिख दिया क्या? Then I even today I think that, it was not that acha or bura. It was the surprising factor that this guy who made us change his reporting style is now writing, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, so I still give all my credit to my that boss, because of her I started, and then I never saw like back key. Then everything became history, and then I'm like, oh, I'm going to write. So that's how the writing started. Okay, then then comes two milestones in my life. One was Pushpesh Pant. So Pant Sahab is this food genius for many of the food folks in India. Uh, Pant Sahab की उस टाइम पर एक there was a TV show called राजा रसोई अन्य कहानियाँ. That
Okay.
used
Yeah.
to come. Um, and I used to love that show. It was different thing that the now I'm friends with the person who made the show as well, and yeah, I'm always thankful to her that you made this beautiful show. That's like it's a gorgeous show if you haven't seen, if you're interested in knowing about food, right? So anyway, so so I was doing I met and that was a time, and he was doing food history, and you know what, I was like, you know what, I could do that. Let me, so apart from the cooking aspect, because I was thinking like food history is a good aspect, and I want people to learn about the food. I want people to know what they're eating.
Right.
So Pansahab became this idol, right? And then that's how the blog started. I remember now Pansahab and I are like really good friends, right? But the first time when I met Pansahab, this was Allahabad, Prayagraj. This time, Abhi like Allahabad, right? So I was still in Allahabad, and I was there, and he was there, um, and I kid you not, I was shivering. I was shivering, but I was shaking, not shivering. I was shaking when I met him
Okay.
because you've seen this guy on TV, and he's your idol in a way, right? And you got into writing, food writing because of him. So when I started telling him like, so I first time I called him sir, and now I call him Pansab because he gives us very sahab kind of feeling. He doesn't give like a sir wali feeling नहीं आती उनमें उनमें साहब वाली feeling आती है. So I was calling him Pansab. So yeah, so when I met him, so in a way he became that. person who made me take interest in food writing or food history actually, and then from that blog started. Um, the other reason was also that I'm like, you know what, I want to write so that I can one day write for bigger journals,
Okay.
online, offline journals, right? Um, then in 2019, I was cooking at a restaurant, and I suddenly realized that people, by and large, can cook good. Not 19, 2018 actually. Uh, People, by and large, can cook food, right? Chefs can cook fabulous food for sure. But uh, chefs don't write their cookbooks. Usually, they don't write their cookbook because उनके पास time नहीं है. Either they have a ghostwriter, or
Right.
many of these cookbooks are written by the food historians or the elder people, like who have retired. So it's the second gen innings, right? And I'm like, I want to be that first person who would write something, who is a chef and writing about food himself. I'm not going to hire a ghost writer or anything, right? I want to write on my own. So yeah, and that's how the idea of the book started. uh, and then I was like, अच्छा अब तो ये हो गया है तो अब इसके बाद क्या? But what I want to write, right, comes back again. My same best friend Mansi. So I remember we were having this discussion at a Costa Coffee nearby, and I was talking, and I said, "क्या लिखा जाए लेकिन लिख तो देंगे लेकिन लिखेंगे क्या?" Bunch of ideas I threw at her, and then finally we sort of finalized the idea on the first book, Dastan-E-Dastarkhwaan, which was to burst 2 3 myths about Muslim food, right? And I
Okay.
also gave a disclaimer saying food doesn't have a religion to begin with. So people who think food has a religion, pretty naive, slash idiot slash stupid slash whatever. Because food doesn't have religion. But I put Dastan Dasakhan, the tales from a Muslim kitchen, because these were born in a Muslim family, right? Or not a family, but a area, geographical area, or the time and the era. Uh, so first was that I want to first burst the myth that
Mm-hmm.
Muslims equal to non-veg food or the meat food, right? It's not that way. We eat bhindi the similar way we eat the aloo, like we eat ghost and chicken, right? It's like any other person who would eat food,
Yeah.
right? Any other meat eater, basically, any other meat
Yeah, yeah,
eater.
yeah.
Why just say कि अच्छा, if you're Muslim then you wake up with kebab in your mouth and you sleep with like nihari in your mouth? ऐसा थोड़ी है कि कबाब बिरयानी खाते हो आप. So yeah, so that was the first thing I wanted to burst the myth. Second, of course, I wanted to talk about these anecdotal stories, the history, make people fall in love with the food that the way I am in love with the food. And that's when Dastan-E-Dastarkhwaan. Dastan is story, and Dastarkhan was a table, the tales of a table, right? That's how it all came up. Then the second, third books are anthology rather, which are parts of a research paper that I was doing with University of Sheffield in UK. It was on
Okay.
Rampur cuisine.
Okay.
So we were doing that, and then these two books were in a way a couple of things came out of that, and then these two books were also there. Um, and with my blog also I started writing for a bunch of the other online journals, from Mint to Scroll to
Mm.
whatnot. Yeah, because so pre-food you will find a lot of my articles on economics, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, you would find so many of articles of mine on on journals like DNA, which used to be there, to Swarajya, to Print, to whatnot, right, on economics. But post MasterChef, you will find my articles mostly only and only on food.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how I got into
Nice.
food writing space, because I want to, and also because I and also the other thing that till date I have that issue is that I don't have white hair. You can see that
Okay. Yeah.
it's not dye; it's genuine. I don't have a chashma, touch wood. Um, so people think that these are the two things at least to be a writer. I mean, not a chashma ही है,
I don't think
yeah.
so, but okay.
Which is the last chef? Which is the last person, the writer you met who doesn't have these two things? They're like either or both, either both or at least one of them.
Oh, the last person? You mean on the podcast?
Now, in general life, have you met any? um, author who doesn't have this combination.
Yeah,
कौन है ये? मुझे भी जानना है, मुझे भी मिलना है इस इंसान से.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm talking because the last writer technically was someone who I had on the podcast, and she's quite young. So,
What is her name? बताना जरा, मैं भी गूगल करता हूँ तो.
Aditi Muralidhar. She's also written a children's book.
Oh, she's young. Huh, but then also maybe because children book. That could also be. You know?
But you've also written a
She's young.
children's book.
I wrote children book right now.
Yeah,
Now when I started.
exactly.
But the
Yeah,
point I was
but
trying to
still.
make is a lot of people don't take me seriously for that thing. No, not take me seriously, but I wanted to break that monotony. That young people can also write. Young people can. It's not that young people only write love stories, like the
Yeah,
common thing
yeah.
about people coming out of IITs and they would write only love
That
stories.
way, what? Durjoy Datta is an author. He doesn't wear glasses. I don't think he has white hair.
Yes, so I was coming to Dujwa Datta or Chetan Bhagat type people, right? Who started writing, and then all these guys are engineers coming out of IIT colleges, and then they would write about the love story. My book is also a love story, but it's a food love story. It's a food love, but it's a history. And then young people don't necessarily do a lot of, at least, I mean, young people do a lot of
Yashaswani
Instagram history.
Chandra, at least from what
She's
I,
yeah,
when she, yeah, yeah. She
yeah,
wrote the book, I think, I forget the name, but it's basically the history of India through horses.
yeah. I have that book. I have somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
that's something. A lot of people, young people, don't necessarily take interest in. Uh, how old is Yashvi Chandra actually? I don't think she's. But khair, point is not to find people's age. Point is,
Yeah.
point is that a lot of food history people are like second inning people. And I was like, I'm going to burst all these myths, and I like bursting myths for people. So yeah, that's why. That's when now I'm into food writing space. I take more interest in food writing than food cooking now.
Yeah. Okay, fair.
Yeah.
No, because no, that's what. So you've also written a children's book now, which is Carrot Soup with Neogi Books, and obviously that's a very different space as compared to obviously writing like nonfiction or like on food history basically, and doing something in the kids space because as it is, that readership is a very different space to write for. So what was it like working on this book, and obviously how different was it for you to actually sit and write for like a younger audience or younger readership that way?
I'll start with step by step. Number one, very difficult, and I'll tell you why very difficult in a moment. But why I started writing as well, and the whole thought process, right? Um, so, so Trisha and I were sitting in her car, and we were talking. Trisha and Yogi again. So both of us were talking about things, and then suddenly she said that, "Hey, do you want to write a book for kids? Because that's a space I'm going to explore." And I immediately says yes. Why? Because I was bored of my own writing style.
Okay.
When I'm saying bored, I mean you need to reinvent yourself. You can't keep on writing the same way that you're writing, right? Uh, so I like as a kid I used to love reading these बच्चे लोग की किताब. There's one more there. Um, this is something which I've got. So it's a small
Oh,
book, by
Chacha
the way.
Chaudhary.
No, this
Yeah.
has everything. This has Chacha Chaudhary. This book has. This book also has Archie, which I never liked. Uh,
Okay.
Yeah, because also growing up, Archie was a very English talking people over there. Right. We were like Hindi people.
I read
We
more of
liked.
Tinkle and Amar Chitra Katha.
Yeah, see, I didn't read Amachitrakatha, by the way. That's more intellectual space. I read Doga and Chacha Chaudhary and Pinky and Super Commander Dhruv and all that, right? So I really wanted to get in that space of illustrated book. I used to call them comic book. Only learned that no, these are called illustrated books. Okay, what?
Yeah, picture
Called
books.
yeah, I didn't know. Uh, so yes, I thought I know it'd be interesting space to explore, right? I'm writing for adults anyway. Adults, matlab not adult books, but writing for adult people.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
food history and everything is happening. Then I'm like, why don't I explore this particular space as well? Because I wanted to, and I wanted to as well in the past. So that's why when she asked me, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And that's how this book came up, right? Little did I know that it's a such a uphill task, like a tough task actually, because I am not a kid. मतलब ये
Okay.
कहना कि हम दिल से बच्चे हैं वो अलग बात है. और तुम भी किसी के तो बच्चे हो गई, वो अलग बात है, ये सब कहना है, बट व्हेन यू राइटिंग फॉर किड्स इट्स अ डिफरेंट बॉल गेम ऑल टुगेदर.
100%.
It's a so I basically the this particular book, the Carrot Soup, has I think 1,000 words or something, 700,000 words or something. Now that long of an article, if I'm writing, I would take like a week's time, right?
Right.
And that's it. That's it. Not more than a week time. I will take. A lot of people would like turn in within a day or two, but I like to take time when I'm writing. So a week and a half week, I'll take and I'll turn that. Now this particular book, I took 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because of two reasons. Because I have to understand like a kid. I have to live like a kid, right? Uh, so I bought like 10, 12 of these illustrated books from the local, as in Indian book authors to foreign book authors, all these guys, and I was reading them just to understand the kinds of terminologies they're using, how is the up and down happening. I took a course as well, you would believe. I
Oh,
took a course on
okay.
that, how to write for kids, like how do they think, right? And then I learned that they like a protagonist. There has to be a protagonist as well, not necessarily an anti-hero,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like a fall essentially, right?
Yeah.
So they like a build up and a fall and a build up and a fall of that sort. It can't be like for the adults. It can be a smooth story. Uh, but I also felt like, for even adults, when I'm doing my food stories and all, I take that leave as well. Give them all sorts of things. Like storytelling is a beautiful aspect, right? And if a kid is understanding your stories, then the adults will always surely understand. Um, so yeah, so all these things and how what kind of a sound. So there's a sound in my book. Imagine a sound in the book. It's called wish wash whoosh. It has no
Okay.
meaning in the word, but it has a sound called wish wash whoosh, because I realized that something which will stick in your head. Uh, so that's the wish wash whoosh, and then if the kids would read it or the parents would read it, that word will stick in their head. Uh, yeah, it's like Gen Z's coming up with Delulu Salulu kind of a crappy word.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these are the words
Yeah.
that will stick to these guys well. Because कभी ना कभी तो ये भी तो बड़े होंगे. ये भी तो ऐसे अजीबोगरीब अतलंगी words लेके आएंगे, तो मैं अभी तो उनको पढ़ा दे रहा हूँ. So that's one, and that's why it took me like 6 months to just understand that, to write one 700,000 words book. We're doing three part basically. So one is done, second one is also almost done, third one will start next year. So yeah, I'm not pro. I'm a pro now.
Yeah. So we have a new children's writer on the block.
Yeah. No, actually, so I wanted to be. I'm like, you know what? I'm so also because okay, so the think tank I used to work with was also working in education space, right? So in a way, I understood the K-12 education, uh,
Okay.
and I had interacted with these guys. So in a way, and that's exactly why I said no knowledge is a trashy knowledge. कहीं ना कहीं कुछ ना कुछ काम आ जाता है, आपको पता नहीं चलता है, but आ जाता है. It's like Slumdog Millionaire kind of a thing, right? When he won that much, like 7 crore, the reason why he won, because kahin na kahin everything is connected in his head, and then he was able to answer them, and people thought chori kar raha hai. But that's the thing, that if you're, and I am very observant, I observe a lot of things. So yeah, that's where children book comes in.
Yeah, no, because obviously, like I've spoken to other writers who've obviously written for like older audiences, and of course, then move into the space of writing for children. And it's not child's play writing for children. It's actually very difficult. It's yeah. So I mean, it's interesting to hear from people like how they kind of navigate the space of writing for that like such a young readership, because if you don't get a kid's attention in like those few seconds, they're not going to like pay, they're just going to like zone out and be like, we're not interested by.
Correct, correct,
So
correct, correct. No, the next I want to do is like do a storytelling, but for kids style.
oh yeah, you should, that would be really fun.
Yeah, because this one, and I'll tell you where it's coming from. Because I was at an event recently, and there's this one some apparently an award winner storyteller. Um, she comes in, and she comes with all her props and everything, and then she's singing and dancing with the kids, and then she had like these parrots, and then she was narrating the parrot story and all that. Hey, it was so nice. I'm like, wow, this is so good. uh, and I'm like, I genuinely had the shyness, because I'm like, I am not a kid storyteller like that. So like, how would I say that the main character in the book is called Phutku, right? It's a rabbit. It's a rabbit family. Now Futku saying like a wish wash whoosh, right? Uh, like I will. So there's a line that I recall. Like he says, "I will clean the room, wish wash whoosh." Okay, that's a way. Uh, if I'm reading an excerpt, that's what I would read. But that's not how you read for kids.
Yeah,
You need to add
that's
drama
true.
in that. You need
Yeah.
to add drama, everything. And I saw her and I'm like, wow, this is so good. And I was so mesmerized. And I like went to her and I spoke with her, and I understood. And then I started, I'm like, oh, now I'm going to add energy. So Putko
Yeah,
says,
yeah.
Mama, I am going to clean my room, wish wash wash. But so hyper energy. Like go up, go down, all do all that thing. So I just loved it. So yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I don't want
No,
to
but
try
that's
and learn.
that's the fun part, I think, no, that's the fun part of storytelling for kids, right? Because you can be really uninhibited. And they kind of bring that out in you.
You need to be that kid basically. जो अंदर का
Yeah,
बच्चा है ना बाहर
basically.
अंदर का बच्चे को बाहर निकालो basically. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, no, but no, it's really cool, and looking forward to the other books you're coming out with, to see. Yeah, no, but you have done two TEDx talks as well. So there was one TEDx talk, I think, in 2017, where you basically spoke about curiosity, mistakes, and innovation, right? So, what are some mistakes you think that you've made that have led to innovation?
Oh, I make so much mistakes in life. लिस्ट बहुत लंबी है मैं शुरू करूंगा तो खत्म ही नहीं हो पाएगा.
Okay, what was the most recent mistake you made which you think has led to innovation?
uh, um, Writing wise, food wise, there's been so many different kinds of mistakes. I also forget a lot of things, by the way. बहुत बूढ़ा है and I always tell people मैं बहुत बूढ़ा हो गया लगता नहीं वो अलग बात है. मिनिमलिस्ट और ऑर्डिनरी के क्रीम्स मेरे काम आ रहे हैं. कामा के भी है कामा का बॉटल पड़ा है यहाँ पे.
Oh god.
तो यार अरे very metrosexual guy I am. I do CTM as well. Just saying, I do CTM.
Everyone's into skincare. Everyone's into
Please,
skincare. It's fine.
not everybody. Men mostly like रिन की टिकिया से मुंह धो दो काम खत्म हो जाएगा. हाँ मैं करता हूँ CTM क्लेंजर टोनर मॉइस्चराइजर.
Moisturize.
देखा अरे बहुत चार पैसे इंसान पर ज्यादा कह जाते हैं ना बहुत टंटे जाते लोग. खैर. so so yeah, so as I said कि mistakes come from also forgetting things that I always forget a lot of stuff. I was writing recently an article and then the biggest mistake was like there was a bunch of things that I forgot to mention, right? Or I forgot to give actually mention and also give the article on time. Um and because so in my head I was taking the article from A point to B to C to D, right? So it was a different kind of a journey. But because suddenly I realized that I have to finish this article and submit on time, I sort of found ways to just connect A to D. B and C were out, right? But only it was just me who knew about it. That only I knew how to do A to D. So the story got changed a little. In fact, including the TED talk that you saw, right? There were things that I mugged up. After such a long time, I mugged up something, right? मैं भूल गया.
Okay.
But I mugged up something, and there were a few points that I wanted to cover, and I forgot. But then I realized, you know what? It's just me. I know what I have forgotten. You don't even know what I have. अब तो खैर मुझे भी नहीं पता कि मैंने क्या बोला बोलो मैं क्या भूला था. But it's just me. So भाई confidence is the key. Run with the confidence. Come up with because so what I was talking to you earlier, right, about knowing about your space. So if you know things,
Correct.
right, uh, then you can talk about it. So faffing is very different. You can faff about things, and
Oh.
people will know about it. People will
Yeah.
know कि तुम ऐसा you're just lying. Versus if you know things, then you know how to connect the dots. Then it doesn't really matter. So yeah, for that TED talk, I forgot some stuff and I added some new stuff in that. So that was the innovation there only. Even for my writing, I was like, I forgot to add some, forgot about it because time crunch. So I narrated, and then when I submitted, people they just loved it. They're like, "Oh, this is such a nice story." I'm like, "Yeah, thank you." So yeah, I make a lot of mistakes, and I always happily accept it as well. I think we need to acknowledge things. Okay,
True.
part of the problem that we don't acknowledge, and it could be everything and anything. अगर जिंदगी में प्रॉब्लम है ये लाइक नहीं 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 कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. चादर डाल के सो जाओ कॉफी पी लो ठीक हो जाएगा. नहीं. नहीं होगा. So acknowledge it. So yeah, so I have made mistakes. I have made mistakes. Yeah. मतलब कौन सा तुम खान हो कहाँ चांद से आया तुम of course you will make mistakes accept it खत्म yeah because you hide those mistakes then you start lying and when you start lying then it's just one after the other फिर जिंदगी खराब हो जाएगी आपकी ये कहीं ना कहीं तो फंसोगे it's like minesweeper game कहीं ना
I
कहीं
don't
तो
know
फट
which
जाओगे
game this is.
अरे you only said your 19th kid no that
Oh,
game used to be
Minesweeper.
yeah
I heard as something else. I was like, wait, what game? And then I was
no
like, oh,
mine
Minesweeper.
minesweeper कहीं ना कहीं तो फंस के फटोगे तुम
Yeah,
कितने
yeah.
ही
Oh,
बच जाओगे
I always, yeah, I never understood the logic of how to play
हाँ
that game.
से लॉजिक है ही नहीं हर चीज में लॉजिक नहीं है मैजिक
Yeah.
है बहुत ही
Oh
घटिया लगा
God.
बहुत ही घटिया लगी
Yeah.
सब मूवी
You
कोई
have
मूवी
a
लगा
career as a Bollywood dialogue writer at
है
some
ना
point.
आई वांट टू
Yeah.
नॉट बॉलीवुड नो
Yeah.
आई वांट
That
टू डू अ
might
टीवी
be.
शो यार I actually call myself as a struggling actor because post MasterChef I was like मेरे मुंह में खून लग like शेर के मुंह में खून लगना तो मेरे मुंह में खून लग गया I want to host a TV show लेकिन ये ना रणवीर ने खेल खराब कर रखा है हाँ पेट पे लात मार रखी है इतनी इतना अच्छा काम कर लेते हैं वो बड़ा साहब सो
Yeah,
या
Ranveer Brar is everywhere. That is true at this
आई नो
point.
ही इज
Yeah.
लाइक मॉडर्न टाइम संजीव कपूर
Yeah, in a way. Yeah.
या
True.
लाइक जाए
True.
तो हम जैसे गरीब लोग आए जा ही नहीं रहे जब तक वो
But
जाएंगे
no,
अपन
I
बूढ़े हो
mean,
चुके होंगे हाँ सॉरी गो
but
अहेड
no, no, I said but you have like the Naan Curry podcast, which is what I was coming to. So yeah, which you've been doing. And of course, there is a video version of that as well. So in some way, you are kind of like, I guess, entering that space. But, how did that podcast, that show start? And what has that experience been like?
No, so the main reason why it all started was because I was like, अगर मुझे शो नहीं मिलेगा तो मैं खुद शो बन जाऊंगा
Wow. Okay. That's a great.
हाँ so bunch of things with the podcast okay me and this co-host of mine Archit हम दोनों ने ना we knew each other before uh, so pre-COVID okay we meet at a coffee shop and we were just talking and we said hey which podcast do you listen to and he's also interested in food by the way which podcast do you listen to if you have to get into food unanimously we talked about the Vikram Doctor. Okay, Vikram Doctor is this fabulous guy, lives in Goa. I think he works for ET. Um,
Okay.
and yeah, he used to have his podcast as well on food, and he did like a 41 episodes. Both of us love his, and of course, as I said, we didn't talk about it before, but on that particular day, we both said, you know what? Yeah, it's his podcast we both love. And then what's next? No answer. Both of us
Wow. Okay.
like, oh, हमें नहीं पता है because legit नहीं पता थी कि next podcast में क्या करते हैं right because most of the podcast at this point in time on food is like audio पे खाना बनाना सीखिए I'm like no मैं वीडियो पे रणवीर बरार को देख के सीख लेगा
Yeah.
there's Ranveer, there's Kunal, there's Sanjeev Kapoor, so many people. Yeah, I was like, why would I do audio if I can do video? So many of these podcasts, right, on with the food quote unquote podcast, they are recipes only, and I'm like, no. So what we did, we like, okay, let's do it. We did a bunch of these demo, by the way, just to train ourselves how to be a better podcaster. And both of us, I like to take things seriously. Not
Hmm.
चीजें क्योंकि भाई मतलब चीजों को ना गारंटेड लेंगे आप ना तो दिख जाएगा क्या बकवास है खुद ही इंटरेस्टेड नहीं हो अपने काम में तो दैट्स व्हाई आई सेड आई टुक 6 months of training to just to understand how to write for kids that you need to really understand things so yeah we both went through a bunch of the podcasts कि ऐसा करना है ऐसा नहीं करना है right and then same goes with our this as well uh, we recorded a bunch of the episodes just to see कि हाँ, किस तरीके से हम बात कर रहे हैं किस तरीके से नहीं कर रहे हैं so all that happened um, and then finally, we came up with the idea of Naan Curry podcast. I'll come to the name as well, why it's called Naan
Yeah.
Curry. But we thought um, we want to mix a bunch of things and our mutual love. Our mutual love is food, our mutual love is history, our mutual love is economics and policy. That how all these things, in a way, deal food, right? How does this affect the food space? Um, and we wanted to make it really fun episode not like a gyan bazi because most of the podcast and I'm sure मेरे से पहले के जितने पॉडकास्ट आपने किए होंगे बड़े बोरिंग से होंगे no, I'm just kidding. A lot of the podcasts people are very come up with serious things कि जिंदगी के फलसफे क्या है, जिंदगी में इतने उतार चढ़ाव हुए हैं, all this very motivational thing, right? And that's in my the data I was looking at in the beginning, I'm like, yeah, these kind of stuff work. ऐसे ही काम करता है कि people are very motivational कि हाँ देख जिंदगी में तबाही मच गई थी, मेरे घर में एक बूढ़ी बूढ़ी माँ और अंधी बहन थी, उसकी शादी करानी थी, ये वो फलाने, all that. Poverty porn essentially, that's what audio was all about, or like a motive. So and both of us are clear कि हमें ये नहीं करना है.
Yeah.
We want two people, like both of us here, two people just hanging out. Others are side में, बाकी लोग आसपास में हमारे हैं, बातें सुन रहे हैं हमारे, बट हम दोनों ये करने वाले हैं. So yeah, so that's how it all started. And that's how the tone we took as well, the tonality we took. And we like, okay, you do, he said, we'll pick the language. So he was doing in English, I was doing in Hindi. We said, okay, because, do back and forth. We'll have our own characters to add as well. We threw in Ayurveda, we threw in so much stuff in that. The reason for calling it non curry, it's a very heavy southern accent of non curry, right? So
Oh.
yeah, but like Indian food is not just about curry; it's beyond that. Yeah, so that's why it's non-curry. Like if you want to roll up your R, non-curry podcast. Uh,
Oh.
so and but naan and curry also goes together usually. Uh, so non-curry and non-curry podcast. So that's
That's a
the
very
entire,
smart title.
yeah. And then a lot of people actually. So we have taken a break as of now. हमने 100 episode करके रोक दिया अभी. But a lot of people loved it. Uh, I'll tell you, ऐसा काफी टाइम इंसिडेंट हुआ था. um, and this one particular incident I'm talking about. I was in Bombay
Hmm.
and I walk into the very prestigious, famous restaurant called Bombay Canteen. Okay, I walk into that, and there was this one manager, and I was going to meet a friend, and like, hey, I'm here to meet a friend. Ye wo. So like Sadaf, right? Like yeah, like oh my god, Sadaf, and this was a restaurant manager, not even a chef, by the way, a restaurant manager. Like Sadaf, like, yeah, Sadaf Hussain, yeah, Sadaf Hussain, that's the name, correct. Like, oh my god, I'm such a big fan of your podcast, Nankari. I'm like, you listen to my podcast? And I was surprised.
Wow.
Surprised because, of course, the data will tell you, the number will tell you that people listen to your podcast in like remote areas of Tanzania and other places, right? So, great. But to meet somebody human, you're like, oh, wow. Wow. And then he said, of course, we listen to you. I've heard so many of your podcasts. I'm like, wow. And then we took like photos and everything. Such nice, humbling experience. Like, you know what? तुमको कोई सुन रहा है. रियल शक्लें हैं उस मतलब जब तक नंबर्स हैं फिर नंबर पे जो शक्ल जब चढ़ जाए ना, इट्स अ डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ अ किक. एंड देन यू लाइक ओ वाओ दैट्स सच अ ब्यूटीफुल थिंग. सो या, सो दैट्स एग्जैक्टली व्हाट आई सेड, बिकॉज़ मेरे को शो नहीं मिल रहा है, मैं खुद शो बन जाएगा.
Yeah.
So
No,
that's my,
but that's no, no, but that's so amazing, right? That you're able to do something you really love and talk about, and to kind of actually have it reach people the way it is. It's really amazing because I mean, like my podcast, like. I mean, reach wise, yeah. I mean, of course, the analytics will tell you one thing, but it was so crazy. I remember once in Chennai, I was at some social event, some wedding, and this girl walks up to me and she's like, oh, are you like and she happened to be like my junior from school or something, so she anyway remembered me and this thing, and she was like, oh, by the way, I listened to your podcast and I really like it. And I was like, oh my god, people are listening. It's that moment. So I completely get that feeling.
it's that kind
um
of feeling. It's a good feeling. It's a very good feeling कि
yeah.
आपकी मेहनत जो है जाया नहीं जा रही, आपकी मेहनत काम कर रही है.
Yeah. And then obviously it's really nice to get like messages from people and they're like, oh, we like this, we like that, which is it's always great. But the irony is, so I never used to listen to podcasts. I still don't listen to that many podcasts. So which yeah, so the joke is maybe this is working because I don't. But yeah.
No, it is true for me as well. I was not into podcast. The other guy, Kalchit, he was into podcast. I would only listen to Vikram Doctor. Vikram Doctor was the only guy I was listening to. Kabhi kabha laga diya, to laga diya. Otherwise, no, not necessarily. But then, because of this particular thing, and then of course, and in a way, now it also works for people. Because you don't have a style. Like for example, I have not taken a formal training in writing ever. तो काफी टाइम ना कुछ कुछ लोग कुछ कुछ बात बोलते हैं, लाइक ये क्या है. ये क्या बोला, रुको तो थोड़ा गूगल कर दो. देन आई लुक अप, लाइक ओ अच्छा ये है, ठीक है. इसको ऐसा बोलते हैं, तो काफी जगह पे होता है, एंड देन इट्स ओके टू नॉट नो थिंग्स, एंड आई एम कंप्लीटली लाइक या इट्स ओके टू नॉट नो, बट इट्स नॉट ओके टू नो एंड देन से, मतलब
Yeah,
इट्स
yeah,
ओके
yeah,
टू
of
नॉट
course.
नो, बट देन इफ समबडी हैज टोल्ड यू दिस, देन यू लुक एट इट एंड देन यू से ओ, तो फिर समझो ना फिर, so yeah, so look up. So a lot of my writing, I don't even know my writing style, to be honest, because it's my style. A lot of people said, "तुम you write from a first person point of view." Like, okay, ये वाला अच्छा word है, लगा लो, first person से लिखता हूँ मैं. I don't write third person. So a lot of times when I'm writing, I know what I'm writing. But हाँ, but not first person. That's a first person. अगर मैं नहीं जानूंगा तो फिर तो पापा ने पैसे बर्बाद कर दिए स्कूल में. लेकिन other things when you're writing on for like an online journal, not a blog is a very different thing, but how you write a blog versus a journal, right?
Yeah, of course.
तो वो अलग स्टाइल है. Like for example when you're doing your thing, right, the style of writing within the illustrated space itself could be 10,000 ways, right?
Very
And
different.
then you would
Yeah, yeah.
come up with like what are the hook words, what are this word, I'm sure there's a lot of technical words which I don't know because I am not you. So yeah,
Yeah,
I will learn one day.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, I think just audio has become such an interesting space. There's all kinds of shows and work coming out right now. So I think it's a really fun space to be in for sure. And some really cool shows coming out right now.
Yeah, I was
Um,
told,
but
and then I was told that you guys went out on a long time because we did it. 100
oh,
एपिसोड करके बैठ गए हम लोग. 100 एपिसोड के यार, थक गया था फिर करते करते. लेकिन अब थक गए, अब नहीं करेंगे.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, here's hoping. I'm sure you guys will come back at some. I assume you guys will come
We're
back at
hoping
some
as well
point.
that we'll be back. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Both of us will sit down again. He is getting married now, तो हम लोग फिर
Okay,
मिलेंगे.
so it's going to be a while then, I think.
Seems like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah.
I
But
will do
no.
podcast with him and his kid now. I mean कभी नहीं कभी तो
Yes,
बच्चे होंगे.
yeah, that's that could be the next
है ना.
next generation.
Correct.
Yeah, Nankari next gen. But yeah. But anyway, no, so then talking about like, content and just generally about different things, what is like content that has really stuck with you? And what I mean is in terms of like say books, food writing, audio, TV shows, movies, music, like what are things, because I truly believe this for any, not just for a creative person but for any person. I feel like while growing up or just generally, there are certain stories or certain, I guess, pieces of art or writing that tend to sometimes really hit you and stick with you, right? So, or inspire you in certain ways. So, what have those been for you?
Interesting. Um, I'll start with my latest work first, and then we'll go back. The book Carrot Soup draws its parallel from Dexter's Laboratory. In
What?
all honesty,
Really?
yeah, yeah. I mean, because I used to
Oh,
love Dexter's Laboratory. Um, it's also a story which how my I grew up in my family. It's a story of gender. It's a story where we talk about that if it doesn't matter you're a man or a woman, if you know how to cook, go and cook. Right, that's the idea. Um, as I was telling you in the beginning, right, that's how I grew up. So yeah, so that's her story. But I said that it draws its parallel from Dexter's Laboratory because I used to love that show. I still watch it, by the way.
yeah.
I still watch it.
Yeah, it's a fun show. It's a fun show.
Yeah, it's such a fun show. Both his siblings having this kid repertoire. Um, but
I won't
in my
lie.
book, huh,
No, when you said Dexter, like when I just heard Dexter, for a split second, my mind went to the TV show about the serial
no, no,
killer. And
no.
then I was like, oh no, it's the cartoon Dexter's Lab.
No,
That's why
no.
I was a bit shocked. And I was like, what? And I was like, oh no, no, he means the cartoon. He means the cartoon.
Yeah, the cartoon Dexter's Laboratory. Much, much, much. Yeah, I haven't seen Dexter, by the way. That thriller, I haven't seen it. Yeah, many of those good things to watch, I haven't. Also because I think in the modern time when you have so much of content, you're like, my theory is अगर किसी भी सीजन का 5 सीजन ऑलरेडी निकल चुका है, आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू बी वाचिंग इट, क्योंकि बाय एंड लार्ज सबकी कहानी तो सेम ही होएगी ना. आजकल
More or
आजकल इफ यू
less.
लुक एट, हाँ एग्जैक्टली, तो वही मर्डर हो गया, फिर मर्डर की हो रहा है, या फिर वही, फिर अगर इफ इट्स स्पिनाच काइंड ऑफ अ मूवी, सेम चीज, कहीं किसी के द्वारा धोखा हो गया, कहीं कुछ हो, कहीं कुछ. सो यू नो, बट अगर उसका 5 सीजन निकल चुका है, आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू वॉचिंग इट. सो दैट्स व्हाई आई हैव नॉट सीन डेक्स्टर. आई हैव नॉट सीन पीकी ब्लाइंडर्स.
Even I have not watched Peaky Blinders. That's fine.
Yeah, I haven't seen How I Met Your Mother as well because I'm like, hey, I
Oh, I
like
don't like
Big
that
Bang
show.
Theory.
Sorry,
Oh,
but I don't like
okay.
that
I
show.
have
Sorry,
I haven't seen it.
listeners.
मैंने देखा भी नहीं. I
Yeah.
haven't even seen those shorts as well जो आजकल आते हैं ना. Like I will watch the shorts of Friends. I will watch funny. I will put up on YouTube funny scenes from Friends, funny scenes from Big Bang Theory. But I have never seen. So yeah, so all that. Game of Thrones was the only thing जो मैं शिद्दत से देखा बिल्कुल आखिरी तक because वो मैं देख
Oh,
रहा था.
I've not watched that show.
हाँ नहीं वो मैं देख रहा था तो मैंने देख के फिनिश कर दिया उसको बट आई हैवंट सीन द न्यू वन जो अभी आई है बिकॉज हम लाइक हो गया ये अब जबरदस्ती का खींचम खींचम तानी करोगे तुम अपनी कहानी को चिंगम बना दिया तुमने तो खींचे जा रहे हो so yeah so Dexter's Laboratory was there um, as writing for kids goes um, I also, as I said, I usually am somebody who likes writing it in a simple language because of the simple fact that I started writing very late in my life. So I think that there are so many people like me who exist, right? So I write for them. I write for those idiots like me who started writing or reading late. So yeah, but a couple of books that inspired me the way they write. Um, uh, Pansab was one person who inspired K.T. Achaya, late K.T. Achaya, who wrote many of the food books. His writing style really inspires me. I like Chitrita Banerjee. Her writing style really inspires me as well. Um, yeah, there's so many. I mean, there's endless limby list.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
um,
No, but
and
just the
now
ones who you feel have really like stuck with you.
यही यही चार पांच जिनका नाम
Yeah,
बताया मतलब
yeah,
है तो
yeah,
बहुत सारे
yeah.
बट ये चार
Yeah,
पांच
yeah,
जिनका
no, of
नाम
course, of course, of course.
जहन
Yeah,
में
yeah,
चिपका हुआ है इसलिए जहन में इसलिए बिकॉज आई लाइक
yeah.
देयर वर्क
Yeah.
हु एल्स आई लाइक जस्ट लुकिंग एट द बुक्स अराउंड एक है सदफ हुसैन करके भी उसका भी अच्छा लगता है मेरे को नाम
Okay.
लड़का लड़का अच्छा
Yeah.
लिख लेता है अच्छा लिखता है बट हाँ देयर सो मेनी अदर फोक्स दैट आई एक्चुअली फाइंड इंटरेस्टिंग गॉट स्टक सिंपल राइटिंग नॉट सुपर कॉम्प्लिकेटेड so I am somebody who I think between Wordsworth, William Wordsworth, and Chetan Bhagat style, which basically means
That's an
yeah,
interesting
because
crossover.
yeah, exactly. So William Wordsworth like all rosy, flowery words. Chetan Bhagat like straight up. I like to mix both of them. Where I do so I purposefully if you find if you read from bunch from a few of my articles, you would see I would just like knowingly, randomly, I would throw in random Urdu words. Why? No reason, but I would make it sound poetic, right? So and also like I when I'm writing, I want to make it a little poetic, in a way how Wordsworth would write, but also keep it simple, like how Chetan Bhagat would write. And I'm not saying that Chetan Bhagat is an awesome writer or a bad writer. That's completely on
No, no. Yeah, yeah.
people's judgment. What I'm saying is these are the two wait the what you said two exact opposite streams, right? So that's what I think my writing space is, and that's what got stuck to me as well.
Hmm. No, but that's really cool. And I think now there are like so many writers who do this increasingly where they do kind of put in, ethnic words or words from their own sort of regional languages or cultures. They kind of
यार
intersperse it into,
कौन है ये लोग
yeah, yeah, I mean, one is Ali Sethi. Okay, now I'm going. He's like, don't answer that question. So I put it
no and it's a good
rhetoric.
thing but also because you know what it's like you're using the local words and local word dialect में ना वही lost in translation uh,
Yeah.
I was watching for example if you haven't seen this series on Netflix called Lupin
Oh, I've
Lupin
not watched it.
it's
Yeah,
a
I've heard a
French
lot about it.
it's a
Yeah.
French series French like croissant but
Yeah,
English में इसको
croissant.
lupin में बोलते हैं English में but I was watching it and I just finished watching it all the seasons by the way just saying नहीं all the season मतलब रातों रात नहीं I was watching it पहले से but someone mentioned me like oh you should watch in French because I'm like I don't understand like yeah subtitle पढ़ लेना तो मैं अगर subtitle ही पढ़ना है मेरे को तो फिर मैं देख क्यों रहा हूँ uh, but lost in translation a lot of people are using these local words of course to also bring that sort of a beauty of their own language but also just कुछ चीजें like when I writing there are a few things which is well said in a local language and same I
Yeah.
think same goes with you Bill, which would be well said in your local language which also will not necessarily have a straight up इंग्लिश कॉन्वर्सेशन उसका भी मतलब
True.
कन्वर्ट भी नहीं कर सकते. दिस इज हाउ व्हाट इट मींस.
So no, what I was saying is that because you do have a lot of writers now, like say and Ali Sethi, of course, Salman Rushdie is known for doing this. It's called chutnification of words or chutnifying the language, which is basically putting in a lot of like ethnic words and whatnot. Of course, yeah, which is really cool.
No, in fact, there's a series on Netflix called Kohra. The whole
Yes,
series
yeah,
in Punjabi,
it,
right?
yeah, it's
Of
a
course, you
really
can
nice show.
switch that into Hindi or English, but it just, and because I understand Punjabi, so it was easy for me to switch to Punjabi and watch the whole thing in Punjabi. It's so beautiful. And same go with Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, or the
Yeah,
other
yeah,
local
Malayalam,
languages.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, or even going further, like a smaller other dialects, right? If you're showing like a Kondavi tribe you're talking with, right? So they have their own tribal language. It just brings their essence. So yeah, I think it's important for many reasons. One, of course, is that you are talking about your own language, but otherwise, people who are watching, the consumers, are able to see the diversity of the language. Because I do think that language is not just about conversation. जबान से सिर्फ आप कॉन्वर्सेशन नहीं समझते हो, आप बहुत कुछ समझते हो. And that's why I think it's important for people to understand these different languages, appreciate it.
Yeah. No, for sure, 100%. But yeah, I think before going to the end of this interview, one thing I do want to ask is, obviously you are in the hospitality space and in the space of, food. Have there been any like misconceptions or assumptions people have had about the work that you do, and you've just had to be like, no, that's just not true, or things you've just generally heard and you're like, but why?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Both as a food person, as a somebody who has got a Muslim name as well, which is what I said. Like the book we talked about Desi delicacies, right? In that book, the book title itself is "Food of South Asian Muslims," right? Which is great. And everybody talked about in that particular book as well. People wrote about kormas and kaliyas and biryanis and all that, right? My chapter was very different. Mine was samosa and chai. The chapter is called
Okay.
High on Samosa and Chai. Why? Because I mean, I feel like Muslims also have chai and samosa, no?
Yeah, of course.
So why are we not talking about the chai and samosa? And I mean, I'm not even going to history. कि चाय कहाँ से है,
Yeah,
समोसा
yeah,
कहाँ से है. That's a different thing altogether, right? What I'm
yeah.
saying is that look, there's a particular quote unquote fact that Muslims have kormas and biryani. But there's also the other clear fact that they also have chai and samosa. So I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
chai and samosa that they say Muslims also have. So that's one myth. And I try to burst that myth. When I do my food walks, right, I try to do the same thing, burst these myths of people saying, hey, you're wrong. You're wrong at many levels. For example, people think Old Delhi is all about Muslims. No, it's not. Then people would think about Old Delhi equals to Muslim equal to meat. Like, no, that's also not wrong. So what I do is I start from Jama Masjid and I end up at a Radha Krishna temple, which is roughly like a 250 years old temple. So thinking that it's Old Delhi is a place which has ISKCON. The first temple of ISKCON is from Old Delhi, right? And then also I do veg walk. I don't even do meat walks for people to understand that
Okay.
when they come, they're like, wait, what? We're not going to have meat. I'm like, no, we're just going to have sabzi. So they get surprised there as well. So yeah, so that's the myth I like to break in general. All my writing, you pick up anything that it'll have a similar kind of a tone. And second is that in food space, um, when you start cooking food, you'd be like, oh, khana banate hi I'll become Ranveer Brar and Vikas Khanna. No, you'll have to put lots and lots of hardship in that, and not everybody will become that person. So you also have to acknowledge that. You keep your thing. It's a also don't. And then the third is a funny one, which I'll come to that as well. But don't think that food is a thing that it becomes mundane in the kitchen. By the way, it becomes mundane. Yeah, because your day in day out same menu, right? Same 40 recipes, dishes. You will cook for at least 1 year before the owner or the main chef wants to try out new thing and change that, right? Or add few other elements to that.
Hmm.
It will be the same
Right.
thing. So yeah, so it's little that way. It's mundane. So yeah, so get into that space, get that zone. Don't. It's a world in itself. food. Cooking is a world in itself. So understand food in a better way, because I think a lot of people are like, अरे हम खाना बनाया तो विकास खाना बना नहीं नहीं बनोगे. And then the third and most important thing, which is another misconception of people, is that you should always marry a chef. No, don't marry a
What?
chef.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Have you never heard of this misconception?
No, I've not heard of this.
How come you have not heard people saying you should marry a chef because you will get good food to eat? Chef. Okay, maybe it's a North India thing then.
Or maybe
Yeah,
no one just said it to me. I don't know.
maybe no one said to you. Maybe. Yeah, no, because in general that's a feeling as well. That don't marry a chef because the chef will cook you good food. But don't marry a chef because the chef will not give you cooked food. Why?
Okay.
Because that chef is in the kitchen. And I'm not saying man or woman, I'm just saying a person uh, who's already in his or her kitchen. दिन रात बैठ के वो खाना ही तो पका रहा है ना. और वो घर आके भी थोड़ी खाना पकाएगा. वो नहीं पकाएगा. वो वीकेंड पे आएगा, वीकेंड पे ही लाइक ऐसे चौकड़ी मार मस्त सोता रहेगा वो. That's the only thing he will do. Or he would come late, right? He would not necessarily be romantic as well, because he's not going to take leaves. He is in the kitchen through and through. He and she both. So yeah. So if you think that marrying a chef is a no, don't.
Okay.
It's a
So, some pretty
it's
good
it's a
life
suicide
advice.
mission. Yeah, it's suicide mission. Don't do it.
Okay.
Marry a
Okay.
lawyer.
So,
Marry a lawyer.
okay. No, but I mean, no, but okay. On that, moving, moving towards the end of this interview, which is going to be more life advice, also in a way. But we always end with these last two questions. So the first one is, what are your, aspirations? What are you looking forward to in the near or even distant future? It can be professional, personal, creative, anything.
Yeah, I am writing this. I'm writing three books at the same time, by the way. Um,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. उड़ता तीर. खैर तो अब I my personal thing is I really want to win an award for my
okay.
work. Very छोटा सा, very मतलब people think that it's बहुत छोटा सा काम है, लेकिन no. Somebody gave me an award. I'll show you.
Yeah.
Award I got, right?
Okay.
But इसका कुछ value नहीं है.
Oh, okay.
That's why it's lying here.
Okay.
The reason value नहीं है because it's a token of appreciation kind of an award. हाँ, क्या करूँ मैं इसका? प्लास्टिक का है, 100 मिल जाता है मार्केट में. That's why I'm not even valuing it. I'm like, छोड़ा यार. I want to. हाँ, and the reason of also, because see, in general, हम सबको ना validation चाहिए कहीं ना कहीं से, किसी तरीके
Yeah,
से.
yeah, of course.
So I think an award would be a good validation from people, no? Saying, "Oh, your work was good enough." Like what you and I talked about podcast, right? There's somebody who reached out to you, saying, "Hey, I listened to your podcast." Our podcast also won an award early this year uh, of being the
Nice.
best food podcast in India. Um so it's a kind of a good validation, and yeah, why not? I mean, yeah, पूरी दुनिया Instagram पे डाल रही है ऐसे get hashtag GRWM kind of a validation. तो छोटी सी गरीब सी ऐसे मेरी इल्तिजा है कि to win an award for my work. Yeah. And I think so I'm writing I'm writing another novel kind of a stuff novel story book on partition. Uh, yeah, and I'm putting myself. मैंने लिख छोड़ दिया है उसको क्योंकि राइटर्स ब्लॉक हो गया है, मुझे नहीं पता कैसे बढ़ाना है अभी उसको.
Oh,
हाँ, तो अभी
okay.
मैं जब तक वो खुले,
Yeah.
वो 4 महीने से चल रहा है वो. So I want to put all in. I'm putting a lot of effort, and I think it will be good work. My aspiration for that particular book is that it will get some kind of award, or some Bollywood person will pick it up because the story, it's a nice story, partition. Yeah, दोनों में से कुछ भी नहीं हो तो भी कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, क्योंकि आपके पास पहले भी नहीं था, लेकिन हो जाएगा तो वाह वाह, वल्ला वल्ला.
I mean, good
Aspiration.
luck to the rights person handling this book, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, last question. What is a piece of advice or learning you'd like to share? Basically, something maybe like you've experienced in life and you just wish more people were like aware of.
Very interesting question. I never thought about it this way. I think I mentioned in a way, right? Be kind to people. I think in the modern times, in the current times, people are not, and I'm genuinely saying, I don't think people are nice to each other anymore. Uh, we're living in, I mean, everybody keeps on talking about it, some on record, some off record, but we're living in times when people are quite intolerant, have become intolerant about everything. पहले हम लड़ाइयाँ करते थे कि तुम्हारे पार्किंग में मेरी गाड़ी खड़ी है कि मेरी गाड़ी में तुम्हारे पार्किंग। अब वो नहीं है, अब उसके बियॉन्ड चले गए हम। सो या जस्ट बी, आई मीन आई थिंक, be nice to people, be appreciative. I've got a tattoo on my back, right, which says in Punjabi, in Gurmukhi, called Shukrana, which is Shukrana comes from the word of shukriya, like appreciate, acknowledge. Uh, so yeah, so
Be
that's how.
grateful.
Be grateful. Be grateful of what you have. Of course, aspire. What I said, right? कि हर छोटी छोटी चीजों को I like to celebrate. I like to celebrate. I don't necessarily celebrate everything. छोटी छोटी चीजें. I want somebody else to celebrate with me. Like कोई और celebrate करो. मैं तो कल दिया ना काम. मैं क्यों celebrate करूँ? कोई और करो. So yes, I feel like you need to be more appreciative of each other's, and the moment you start appreciating people's, irrespective, small, big, as I said, पानी ही पिलाने वाले क्यों ना हो, irrespective, when you start appreciating people, you start taking life very differently. You start taking people around you very differently, and you meet them like you really want to meet them, like genuineness comes in. So that's the only advice that I would like to give today, tomorrow, forever. कोई बड़ी ज्ञान नहीं, कोई बड़ी बड़ी बात नहीं है, छोटा सा सस्ता सा काम है, 2 रुपए का काम है, कर लो बस.
No, but it's a very, I think, relevant piece of advice. Honestly, I think, like you said, I think today people have just. I think it's also like we're in this world of. I think everyone's just so absorbed in themselves that it's very like you forget to be empathetic, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah,
हमने
but
empathetic में से
no.
M निकाल दिया यार. I don't know when that happened.
Okay, yeah. But no, I mean, more power to you and all the wonderful things you're doing. And on that note, we have now come to the end of this interview. Thank you so much for being here, Sadaf. It was lovely talking to you. I hope you had fun.
I absolute had fun. I mean, this is the first time I am recording any podcast for like 2.5 hours. This is so brilliant. And the reason I know about 2.5 hours because I just looked at time like, oh my god, like 1 बजने को आए हैं. नाश्ता भी नहीं किया मैंने अभी तक. But then I'm just saying the reason that it didn't occur because it was just fun to record. But yeah, thank you. You've been fabulous as well. A fab host. You said more power to me. I think more power to you as well to bring people together and bring their stories. So yeah.
Thank you. So that was my conversation with Sadaf Hussain. It was so much fun talking to him about the hospitality industry, food, books, and just getting to know his journey. Closing this episode with an excerpt from Sadaf's chapter in the book Forgotten Foods. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I'll see you after our mid season break in January with new guests and new chronicles to share. Have a very Merry Christmas and a wonderfully warm New Year. Talk real soon.
All right, so I am reading Forgotten Foods. It's a new book which has come out. It's an anthology, and there are a couple of chapters in the book that I have written. And I am reading Bihari Kebab and Other Stories. I love Bihari Kebabs. I absolutely do. And I put Bihari Kebab on top of the kebab family. It's a pasanda kebab, like a patli falche kebab for people who don't understand Bihari Kebab. I'm going to read parts of the book. From the poets Mir and Ghalib to the rulers Wajid Ali Shah and Bahadur Shah Zafar, everyone loved a good plate of hot kebab with optional chutney on the side, like biryani, rasgulla, and a crispy cheese sandwich. The kebab invites controversy, yet you cannot confine it to one definition. A dictionary would define kebab as meat cubes which are marinated and then barbecued alongside vegetables, often on a skewer. This description, however, is only a half truth. How do Sikh kebab, Galauti kebab, or Shami kebab fit with this description? And most notably, how can you define Bihari kebab, which is neither cubed nor cooked with vegetables? That's one thing about Bihari kebabs, and then I would go towards the end, which is many might come to you and claim kebabs are easy to make, but I advise you not to listen to them. Kebabs can have a subtle flavor and texture. You need to make them in the most painstaking way and live up to the dish history. For my own family, Bihari kebab is what brings different qisse or stories together. It has become a tradition passed on from my nani to her 3 daughters, and now I too know how to make and serve these kebabs, and I have learned from my Ammi and Abbi. Bihari kebab strikes me as being like a beautiful symphony with the people that make these kebabs as the conductors. The kebab's high notes of chili and nutmeg are balanced by the lower notes of papaya and cinnamon powder, as well as the middle range of poppy seeds, cumin, garlic, and more. In short, each spice has a role to play in the delicious grill. These kebabs has a distinct tune blending with the local texture and aroma. Like a song from Coke Studio, the grill is rustic and bursting with soul and flavor.